Chapter 1089. The two kingdoms' defenses were quite weak, so the three armies split into two armies and simultaneously attacked the two kingdoms. They were finally going to take revenge for what had happened that day, and they had been holding back for a long time. The three armies looked incredibly excited as they attacked the two kingdoms. They planned to first destroy the two kingdoms before destroying the Lalai kingdom and the other kingdom. Even though they did not know why the Lalai kingdom would do such a stupid thing, this was clearly beneficial to them. More importantly, the Lalai kingdom could not defeat the three of them at all, so they did not have to worry about any schemes from the Lalai kingdom. After the two armies of half-beasts attacked the two kingdoms, they started a massacre and looted everything. The two kingdoms were greatly shocked and quickly mobilized their armies to defend. Under such a great crisis, the new king ascended to the throne. However, the fate of the two kingdoms was not stable yet, and the people were quite unsettled. Morale was also quite low. The two armies suddenly attacked from the sides with unstoppable momentum. They continuously conquered region after region, and the two kingdoms continuously sent reinforcements, but they were still unable to stop the three armies. In the end, they paid a great price to temporarily stop the three armies outside the third defensive line. The situation was quite urgent, and if the third defensive line was broken through, the two kingdoms would not be able to defend against the three armies in the future. The two kingdoms immediately sent people to the surrounding kingdoms to ask for reinforcements, but it was not very effective. By now, they had experienced what it felt like to be completely alone. They hated the person who had assassinated their king to death, and they hated the shameless Lalai kingdom to death. Their ugly faces were simply infuriating. The three half-beast kingdoms were afraid that the two kingdoms would receive reinforcements, and they would not be able to destroy the two kingdoms. As such, they had to finish this battle quickly and furiously attack at all costs. In order to seize this time, the three half-beast kings personally attacked, sending terrifying attacks towards the grassy city lords. The defensive line was almost broken through, and the two new kings were forced to act. Below, countless soldiers clashed. A half-beast held a large saber and cruelly rushed up, chopping a grassy city lord in half. Another grassy city lord roared as he stabbed his spear into a half-beast's chest. A half-beast madly howled as his hands turned into claws and tore apart a grassy city lord. Another grassy city lord looked terrified, but he still rushed up with his saber. One of the half-beasts chopped off a grassy person's head with a savage look on his face as he wildly laughed. Another grassy person attacked without any regard for his life, and in the end, he died together with the half-beast. The sounds of battle were deafening, and the sounds of metal clanging rang out incessantly. Blood splattered everywhere, and corpses lay on the ground. The battlefield on the ground was extremely tragic. However, the half-beastmen were clearly in an advantageous position. Not only did they have more people, but their morale was also high. On the other hand, the grassy people's morale was quite low, and their numbers were smaller. More and more grassy people were dying. In the air, the city lords and generals from both sides started to fight. Their battle was quite terrifying, and powerful gales were kicked up as they fought intensely in the air. No one dared to get close. The battle between the two kings was abnormally intense as well, giving off terrifying ripples that could cause people to feel terror. However, it was still the half-beast king who was stronger. After all, he had powerful cultivation and rich battle experience, while the grassy king was weaker. Clang! A half-beast king slashed out with his claws, sending a grassy king flying. The new grassy king flew back dozens of meters before stopping. There were now 5 claw marks on his chest, and blood flowed out. Boom! A massive aura exploded out as the new king used his nation armament. A log that gave off intense green light appeared, dyeing the sky green as a terrifying shockwave spread out in all directions. Seeing the new king use his nation armament, the half-beast king coldly laughed and also used his nation armament. A terrifying aura rushed into the sky as a half-beast statue giving off terrifying power appeared, causing the surrounding air to seem to freeze. Boom! The two of them once again started a massive battle, resulting in a terrifying gale. Terrifying auras spread out, causing everyone in the surroundings to feel as if they had fallen into an icy cavern, and their bodies uncontrollably trembled. Roar! An hour or so later, the half-beast king gave off an intense light and turned into a massive wolf that was hundreds of meters long. It raised its head to the sky and roared before rushing at the new grassy king. The new grassy king's expression fell, and he swung his sword, sending out a massive green gale that ferociously slashed towards the massive wolf. The massive wolf roared and exploded out with even more intense light as it smashed towards the green storm. It ferociously charged forwards, causing the green storm to scatter in all directions, and a massive wolf charged towards the new grassy king. Bang! The grassy king was smashed back into the ground, creating a massive crater. The new king was covered with blood, and his aura became much weaker. It was not just the grassy king's side that had lost. The grassy city lords and soldiers had also suffered heavy losses. The ground was littered with grassy people's corpses, and the new grassy king could only turn and run. The half-beast army broke through the third defensive line and suffered heavy losses. However, they were still victorious in the end, and the army started to rampage through the grassy kingdom. By now, the grassy kingdom could not resist at all, and its residents ran in all directions. Even the king was about to relocate the royal city and escape to another place. The grassy kingdom had been destroyed. The other grassy kingdom had also been destroyed, and it was in an even more miserable state. The new king had to face the attacks of two half-beast kings and was unable to escape. He was killed by the two kings, and the grassy army was completely routed. After these two kingdoms were destroyed, the surrounding kingdoms did not hold back and took this opportunity to take the territory of these two kingdoms. They also pretended to be kind and accepted the residents of these two kingdoms. This was the reason why they did not send troops to help. After all, in this world, profit was the most important thing. No one cared if you were of the same race or something else. Sending troops to help the grassy kingdom would not bring them any benefits, and they might even suffer heavy losses. It was a thankless task, so how could they go back to help? Wouldn't it be better to reap benefits for free here? Zhao Fu smiled as he looked at the report in his hands. From the very beginning, Zhao Fu had been paying attention to the situation on the battlefield. He had seen the three half-beast armies wreak havoc in the grassy kingdom, and they had already conquered a large amount of land and cities. They were now deep into the grassy kingdom, and it was time for Zhao Fu to act. Zhao Fu immediately gave the order for all of his soldiers to attack and cut off the three kingdoms' armies' retreat. This time, Zhao Fu could mobilize 60 million soldiers and 10,000 or so city lords, including Qin City's city lord. However, his identity was still hidden, and he did not reveal himself. He also had the Blue Wolf Kingdom soldiers. Chapter 1090. This kingdom was most likely furious at Zhao Fu for letting the half-beasts in, and it was possible that they wanted to take this opportunity to destroy the Lalai kingdom. As such, they had to be on guard. The three half-beast kingdoms had each sent 40 million soldiers, which added up to 120 million soldiers. After destroying two kingdoms, they had lost 40 million or so soldiers, and they only had around 80 million soldiers. Zhao Fu's army quickly blocked off the half-beast kingdom's path of retreat, causing the half-beast army to feel quite startled. They had never thought that the Lalai kingdom would have hidden so much power. After all, this was the grassy world, and the three of them did not dare to stay here for too long. Moreover, if their path of retreat was blocked, the consequences would be severe, so they immediately turned around and tried to break through the blockade before sending another army to take control of the conquered regions. The two armies soon officially clashed, each giving off a powerful aura, causing the surroundings to fall silent. Not a single creature could resist the two massive auras wreaking havoc. On the Lalai Kingdom's side, Zhao Fu was in charge. Zhao Fu stood in the sky with thousands of city lords and generals behind him. On the Half-Beast Kingdom's side, There were 3 half-beast kings and 3,000 or so city lords. Comparatively speaking, this side was much more powerful. Not only did they have more soldiers, but they also had more city lords than the Lalai kingdom. One of the half-beast kings' eyes became slightly cold as he looked at the half-beast woman standing behind Zhao Fu. She was actually the king of the Blue Wolf Kingdom, and he coldly harumphed. This king thought that you ran off to somewhere and joined with the grassy people. It seems that they were the biggest reason why your Blue Wolf Kingdom was destroyed. Song Xiuanu did not reply to him, and coldly looked at the 3 people in front of her. They were the main culprits behind the Blue Wolf Kingdom's destruction, and because they had submitted to Zhao Fu, they naturally could not feel any hatred toward Zhao Fu. However, their hatred towards the 3 people in front of them continued to surge. A slightly chubby half-beast king coldly laughed as he said, "This king already said that if you come and serve this king will take care of you in the future. Right now, you're still this king's people." The 3rd half-beast king looked at Zhao Fu. They had met Zhao Fu before, but at that time, Zhao Fu had been standing to the side and hadn't said anything. At first, the 3 of them hadn't paid much attention to him and felt that he wasn't a very powerful person. However, now, Zhao Fu had dared to bring soldiers to block their path of retreat. He was the one who had let the 3 of them in and destroyed the 2 grassy kingdoms. It could be said that Zhao Fu was the greatest contributor to this battle. The king lightly laughed as he said, "With the Lalai Kingdom's current strength, do you think you could defeat the 3 of us? What wishful thinking. You're the one courting death. If you kneel down and surrender now, the 3 of us can spare you." The 3 of them did not directly attack. Firstly, they wanted to take back the Lalai Kingdom, and secondly, they had already given the order for all of the soldiers stationed in the 3 kingdoms to attack the Lalai Kingdom from behind. This way, the Lalai Kingdom would definitely lose, and they would be able to destroy the Lalai Kingdom as well. Just thinking about devouring 3 kingdoms made them feel quite happy. The 3 kingdoms still had around 30 million soldiers left, and they were quickly heading over. They would arrive soon. Zhao Fu coldly laughed as he said, "It should be the 3 of you kneeling down and submitting to me. You." One of the half-beast kings was infuriated and wanted to attack, but he was stopped by the people beside him. They were just stalling for time. Zhao Fu did not want to continue talking with them, so he gave the order to attack. Even though Zhao Fu had brought a large number of city lord wyverns, Zhao Fu did not want to reveal too much of his strength. As such, he did not use them too much. Currently, Zhao Fu only had 2,000 or so city lords appear, which was the same number as the enemy city lords. As for the other city lords, they went to destroy the reinforcements. Boom! 10 skeleton cavalrymen giving off an aura of disaster raised their black swords, exploding out with 10 pillars of black light that shot into the sky. Clouds swirled as large amounts of heaven and earth essence chi gathered, and a massive black magic formation appeared, giving off a boundless aura of death. Roar! 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 Ear-piercing roars sounded out as skeletons suddenly appeared around the half-beast army. Sensing the aura of life, they madly rushed at the half-beast army. There were at least 20 to 30 million of them, and they attacked like a white wave. Zhao Fu could not reveal too much of his strength right now, as that would attract too much attention. Zhao Fu used the undead disaster that he had not used in a long time. These skeletons were from the legacy world, as most people in the outside world were affected by the curse of rest and could not become undead. Seeing so many undead appear, the 3 half-beast kings were given a big fright, and the soldiers hurriedly defended. Shield bearers walked up and formed a shield wall, while the spearmen and attackers prepared to attack. However, at that moment, the half-beast soldiers and grassy people under Zhao Fu's control started to attack. The infantry and cavalrymen gave off a massive aura as they ferociously flooded towards the half-beast army. The half-beast shield-bearers also stepped out, and the infantry and archers worked together to form a defensive formation as they waited for Zhao Fu's army to charge. Boom! 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 Waves of powerful auras gathered together, forming massive creatures that gave off terrifying mights. The core creation appeared. This time, Zhao Fu had brought out 7 core, while the other side had brought 5 core condensation and 2 had stayed behind. Adding them together, there was still 15 core condensation. Zhao Fu's core condensation was surrounded by a few core condensation, and the city lords turned into rays of terrifying light as they clashed, unleashing a terrifying battle. Go and meddle with the core condensation. Leave those 3 to me. Zhao Fu looked around and found that the core condensation was the weakest, so he ordered Song Xiuanu to go and help. Song Xiuanu nodded and rushed towards the core condensation. Zhao Fu took out the Death Disaster Sword and looked at the 3 half-beast kings. He did not hesitate to explode out with his full power, and a terrifying aura spread out like a storm. This caused the 3 half-beast kings' expressions to fall because they felt terror. They had never thought that Zhao Fu would be so powerful. Xing! A massive sword hum sounded out as Zhao Fu slashed out, sending out a massive gray crescent that sent the 3 half-beast kings flying back with shocking momentum. The 3 half-beast kings flew back 100 or so meters before stopping and coughed up a large mouthful of blood, looking incredibly shocked. They looked at each other and immediately used their nation armaments with their full power, or else they would not be a match for Zhao Fu. Chapter 1091. Sensing these 3 massive auras, Zhao Fu thought about it and decided not to use his nation armament's power. Once he used it, information about Zhao Fu's identity would be revealed, so Zhao Fu decided to use the 6 Paths Demon Image's power instead. With the 3 kings releasing their nation armament's power, if Zhao Fu only used his Royal Seal's power, he would not be able to quickly end the battle. Moreover, Zhao Fu did not dare to release the full power of his Royal Seals, as that might reveal his identity. A massive wave of ghostly qi flowed out from Zhao Fu's body, causing the surrounding temperature to plummet as an eerie aura spread out. Zhao Fu did not hold back at all with the 6 Paths Demon Image's power, and he used its full power. The ghostly qi flooded out, covering the surrounding 10,000 meters, and a massive might spread out from Zhao Fu's body. The 3 kings looked incredibly shocked. They had never thought that Zhao Fu would be able to explode out with such terrifying power. However, they immediately acted, not wanting to allow Zhao Fu's power to continue to increase. 3 massive rays of light containing terrifying power and powerful gales blasted into the region, filled with ghostly qi. Xing! A clear sword hum sounded out as a sharp gray arc of light flashed within the ghostly qi. A massive storm of sword qi slashed out, not only destroying the 3 rays of light, but also dispersing the ghostly qi in the surroundings. Zhao Fu appeared at the center, gray flames burning around his body. His body gave off a terrifying might, and his aura was as cold and eerie as a ghost's. This caused the 3 kings to feel a chill in their hearts. How could this person be so powerful without using his nation armament? Boom! Zhao Fu stretched out a hand, and a massive wave of ghostly qi flowed out of his hand, turning into countless ghosts that flooded towards the 3 half-beast kings. The 3 half-beast kings hurriedly swung their weapons, slashing out large amounts of sharp light that created a sharp storm that destroyed the countless ghosts. Suddenly, Zhao Fu's body disappeared and reappeared in front of the king, and his sword gave off an intense sword light as it slashed towards that king. The king looked quite shocked as a fate dragon came out of his body, and his king's domain spread out with immense power. Boom! A massive explosion sounded out as Zhao Fu's sword slashed down, splitting the king's domain in 2. The half-beast king stared in disbelief as his body was split in 2, causing blood to spurt everywhere. Seeing this scene, the 2 remaining kings felt a chill on their backs. How could Zhao Fu have such terrifying power? They had both used their nation armaments, but they had been killed by a single sword strike. Zhao Fu not only used the 6 Paths Demon Image's power, but also the King Seal's power. When the 2 of them combined, they were naturally abnormally terrifying. At that moment, Zhao Fu's terrifying eyes turned to the two remaining half-beast kings, causing their hairs to stand on end. They felt terror and instinctively wanted to run. However, at that moment, Zhao Fu's body flashed, and he appeared in front of one of the kings. His sword gave off a cold light as it stabbed towards the king, and the king was given a big fright and used his nation armament to block. Bang! The sword slammed against the nation armament with immense power, sending it flying. The king was also sent flying back, but he was not heavily injured, and his expression was one of joy. However, in the next second, his expression became one of terror because Zhao Fu stretched out a hand towards him, and countless chains containing immense power shot out. The king hurriedly tried to recall his nation armament, but it was already too late. Chi, chi, chi. The chains gave off terrifying power as they pierced through the king's body, causing blood to spurt everywhere. The king's body was like a pile of mud as he hung on the chains, no longer breathing. The final king's mind went blank, and his body trembled. He only wanted to escape. If he stayed here, he would definitely die. However, in the end, the king was unable to escape, and Zhao Fu caught up to him and pierced through his chest, killing him. Seeing Zhao Fu forcefully kill 3 kings, the half-beast army below fell into terror. Now that their kings were dead, their morale plummeted, and some people directly turned to run. It was not just the soldiers. Even a few city lords started to run. They could sense that they had lost this battle. Of course, there were also many people who were furious and ferociously attacked Zhao Fu's side, roaring that they would take revenge for their kings. Zhao Fu fulfilled their wishes. He held the Death Disaster Sword and gave off a deathly mist as he rushed towards the group of people. The outcome was obvious. Over at the 3 half-beast kingdoms' reinforcements, just as they walked into a valley, countless Qin city lords started to mercilessly slaughter them. They unleashed terrifying attacks, instantly killing countless half-beast people. The wyverns circled in the sky and grasped opportunities to breathe out flames and icy blasts, burning or freezing people to death. There were 8,000 city lords and 3,000 wyverns here. Even though there were not many of them, the 30 million soldiers were unable to resist at all, and the core formations that they had formed were instantly destroyed. It was a complete massacre, and a large number of half-beast people died. Some people started to run, but those people started to kill those who tried to run. They even set up a massive death barrier, trapping countless people within it. No one was able to escape, and some people knelt in surrender, but they were still unable to escape death. In the end, the ground was dyed red with blood, and corpses littered the ground. Everyone's expressions were filled with despair and terror. This massacre was incredibly shocking, and the dense stench of blood could make anyone want to vomit. These people had to be killed because news of Zhao Fu mobilizing so many city lords and wyverns could not be leaked. Otherwise, Zhao Fu would face a massive threat, and his identity might be completely exposed. However, on the other side of the battlefield, Zhao Fu treated captives well. As long as they surrendered, they would not be killed. After the king died and a group of loyalists were killed, the fighting quickly calmed down. Hurry up and take over the 5 kingdoms. Zhao Fu grinned. He had made massive gains this time. He had instantly destroyed 5 kingdoms, and the 2 grassy kingdoms just had to take over. They would not be able to resist at all. On the other side, 90% of the 3 half-beast kingdom soldiers had died here, and they would not be able to resist much. Song Shiwanu stood next to Zhao Fu, looking quite afraid. Only now did she know how terrifying Zhao Fu's power was. No wonder she had not been able to resist at all back then. Even if the 3 kings had arrived, she would not have been able to escape. Chapter 1092. After quickly conquering the 5 kingdoms, Zhao Fu went into a defensive state. With the Lalai kingdom's strength, it was impossible for it to control such a large area with 5 kingdoms, so it had to go into a defensive state to prevent other kingdoms from spying on it. However, it was impossible for the surrounding kingdoms to take back the territory that they had taken, and Zhao Fu could not start a war with them over this. As such, he could only let them take advantage of him. At the same time, Zhao Fu helped the Blue Wolf Kingdom restore its kingdom. The Blue Wolf Kingdom was a half-beast kingdom, so if it controlled the three half-beast kingdoms, there would not be much resistance, and the surrounding kingdoms would not be able to do much. However, if the Grassy Kingdom took over the three half-beast kingdoms, the situation would be quite dangerous. The Lalai Kingdom had also devoured two Grassy Kingdoms, causing their strength to more than double. As for the Grassy Kingdom next to it, they could only leave it there for now. After the situation stabilized, they would find a good opportunity to destroy it. Zhao Fu stayed here for another month or so, and the situation had completely stabilized. What made Zhao Fu quite happy was that the two kingdoms had both become level 1 Marquis kingdoms. Because they were kingdom territories, they did not have to be cleared out like in the wilderness, and they could just directly conquer them. The Blue Wolf Kingdom had 1,020 regions in total, had 3,100 city lords, and had 1 billion people. They did not have enough soldiers because the Half-Beast Kingdom had suffered heavy losses during the war, and they only had 30 million soldiers. The Lalai Kingdom had 1,080 regions in total, had 3,230 city lords, and had 5 billion people. Their army was the same as before, and they only had 50 million soldiers, so they were still recruiting soldiers. Marquis kingdoms were many times more powerful than barony kingdoms, and with two Marquis kingdoms as chess pieces, Zhao Fu was in a good mood, and Li Yu looked quite happy. With Zhao Fu's help, they had actually succeeded in achieving this goal, and they were incredibly grateful to Zhao Fu. Song Xiuanu was also incredibly grateful to Zhao Fu. She had never thought that Zhao Fu would really help her restore her kingdom, and he had even given it a Marquis kingdom. She had not done much, and she had obtained it so easily. Seeing that the situation had stabilized, Zhao Fu once again returned to Qin City. Of course, he left some city lords outside in case anything unexpected happened. This time, Zhao Fu had brought back 4 nation armaments and 3 barony royal cities. 2 of the kingdoms had moved quite quickly and moved their royal cities away. However, obtaining 4 nation armaments and 3 barony royal cities was already quite good, as this was the first time Qin had obtained so much. These nation armaments were all true nation armaments, and they were much more powerful than the nation armaments that had been passed down. Refining them would be quite troublesome, but Zhao Fu had already prepared everything. Following this, he refined the 4 nation armaments and placed them in the city hall. In the end, he conferred the titles of concubines and socialites from the various countries as concubines and provided a large amount of atmosphere for the Emperor Phoenix statue. By now, Zhao Fu had come to the front lines, where he was clearing out regions. I wonder how the 100 people in Sword Obsession are doing. Zhao Fu was quite concerned about them. These 100 people had been captured by Qin City with great difficulty, and they all had terrifying talent in the way of the sword. They would most likely be able to unleash the power of Sword Obsession. When Zhao Fu saw them again, they had gone through great changes. The killing sword intent around their bodies was even more intense, and the blood-red qi around their bodies was even denser. Their eyes gave off a bright blood-red light, and their bodies seemed to become illusory. They were now in the second transformation of Sword Obsession, and not only did they have to destroy their bodies, but they also had to destroy their souls. Otherwise, they would be able to recover over a long period of time. In the end, they would become unkillable and indestructible existences, so their bodies already seemed to become illusory. This was an unkillable and indestructible power, and Zhao Fu quite wanted to have it. However, he would have to give up his consciousness, so he could only give it up. Zhao Fu did not want to become a monster like that. The Emperor Killing Sword world had obtained the killing power from them, and it had become much stronger. The second stage of the Emperor Killing Sword world needed to expand by 10,000 kilometers and could nurture 1,000 people in Sword Obsession. After looking at the Sword Obsession, Zhao Fu wanted to rest for a few days. It was now February, and flowers were blooming, but at that moment, Zhao Fu received a piece of news. This news was about the Western continent. Under Qin City's terrifying threat, the Western continent was incredibly united, and they desperately wanted to obtain the power to resist Qin City. Right now, they could only support Tina Pendragon, as there was only one kingdom in the Western continent, which was the Great British Empire. They could only support Tina Pendragon, as only Tina Pendragon had a trace of hope of resisting that terrifying Qin City's legatee. With the support of various factions, Tina Pendragon's kingdom naturally developed incredibly quickly. It had originally been a level 1 Marquisate kingdom, but it was now a level 4 Marquisate kingdom. It had 4,000 or so regions, while the Western continent only had 7,000 regions. Zhao Fu felt that he could not allow this to continue, or else it would be even more difficult for Qin City to destroy them after they unified the Western continent. It was not just the Western continent. The situation in the Eastern continent was the same. The 8th-ranked legatee of the Inca Empire, Ramus, had established a kingdom, becoming the 3rd kingdom in the human world. It was now a level 5 barony kingdom. The Eastern continent was not actually a continent because it had many islands and had 6,000 regions. Now, the Midland continents, Northern continent and Southern continent, had been conquered by Qin City. The two continents were separated by Qin City, so it was almost impossible for them to ally together. At most, they could pincer Qin City from above and below. However, with Qin City's current strength, Zhao Fu did not fear them at all. Instead, he wanted to wait for them to come so that they would suffer less losses. By now, only 80% of Qin City's regions had been cleared out, and some parts of the Great Wall had not been constructed yet. However, the Western continent had gathered 50,000 city lords and 4 billion soldiers, not including the Eastern continent. The Eastern continent also had 20,000 city lords and 1 billion soldiers. Once Zhao Fu started to attack the Western continent, the Eastern continent would definitely act as well. Great Qin's population was now 42 billion, and it had 4 billion soldiers. There were 9 billion Stage 1 soldiers, 100 million Stage 2 soldiers, 6 million Stage 3 soldiers, and 200,000 Stage 4 soldiers. This did not include those who did not have Stage 1 cultivation yet. He controlled 27,570 regions, and this was all of them. Adding on the Southern continent and Netherwater continent, the Northern continent's 7,000 regions, and the Dark Demon Southern continent's 12,000 regions, there were 46,570 regions in total. Chapter 1093. Finally, Qin had 4 billion soldiers, so he had 40,000 basic general seals, for 1,000 general seals, for 100 general seals, 40 marquis general seals, and 4 armorial seals. Qin City Lord's strength far surpassed the other two sides, but their military strength was slightly weaker, and they had a difference of 1 billion or so soldiers. Now that they were going to unify the world, Zhao Fu did not hide anything. The 1 billion or so soldiers that he lacked could be gathered from the southern continent of the Dark Demon world. Zhao Fu's goal was to conquer the Western continent and then destroy the Eastern continent. He did not need to attack. He only needed to defend against the Eastern continent's attacks on Qin. What Zhao Fu was worried about was the Great British Empire. After all, 17,000 city lords had joined the Great British Empire, and it had 7 billion people and 700 million soldiers. It also had 7,000 basic general seals, 700 general seals, 70 general seals, and 7 marquis general seals. Every kingdom had a limit to its population, which was determined by how many cities it had. The more buildings a kingdom had, the more people it could have, and any excess population would not be counted as a kingdom's population. Cities were also limited by region. A region could only be split into 5 to 7 counties, which meant that there could only be 5 to 7 cities. Any additional cities would not be counted as a kingdom's cities. The Great British Empire now had 4,000 regions, which meant that it had at least 20,000 cities. This limited the number of general seals that could be obtained by increasing a country's population. The more a country's population was, the more soldiers it would have, and the more general seals it would have. However, now that there was a population limit, it was impossible for there to be no general seals. As such, it was impossible for a small kingdom to suddenly obtain 10 billion people, 1 billion soldiers, and 10,000 general seals. Zhao Fu thought about it for a long time before making up his mind to unify the world. As such, he immediately gathered countless ministers to discuss this matter. The entire Qin Empire seemed to be covered in a solemn and tense atmosphere, and the various factions in Qin were preparing. This was a war to unify the world, and it would definitely be the largest war that had ever happened in the human world. The consequences would be unimaginably tragic, and corpses would pile up into mountains, blood would flow into rivers, and even the heavens would weep. In such an important war, Qin did not dare to be careless at all. One careless mistake might cause the death of countless people. For this reason, Zhao Fu and many ministers discussed in detail for a week and did not end. All of Qin's departments entered a highly efficient state of operation, collecting all kinds of materials needed for war, and manufacturing ordnance was also wantonly. Is it finally here? The Western continent and the Eastern continent also received the news that Qin was ready to launch the last war of the human world, the War of Unification. If Qin won, the human world would be unified. In the future, there would be no more wars in the human world. There would only be one country in the human world, and all the races would be united as the Qin people. The Western continent and Eastern continent faced immense pressure, which concerned their survival. They did not dare to be careless, and they nervously started to make preparations. In the second month, orchids began to bloom. In the third month, peach blossoms blossomed. In order to prepare for this war, Qin had prepared for an entire month. At the same time, the Western continent and Eastern continent had also prepared for an entire month. It could be seen how much importance they placed on this war. During this period of time, the Li family once again tried to lure Zhao Fu out, but Zhao Fu ignored them. After all, in the face of such a massive war, Zhao Fu definitely would not let his emotions affect his decisions. On March 7th, Qin officially sent out his army. Both sides had set up countless isolation zones in the ocean to prevent the other side from using despicable methods. Qin had already set up a large number of ice islands in the middle of the ocean, and they just needed to destroy the isolation zones. Soldiers wearing black armor and holding weapons walked out of teleportation channels in an orderly manner. City lords giving off powerful auras also arrived, and they stood in the air, giving off a boundless aura. In front of them was the large number of isolation zones that the Western continent had set up. Because they were in the ocean, Zhao Fu sent the 8 aquatic beast kings to scout ahead in case there were any ambushes. He then ordered formation masters to destroy the isolation zones. On the other side, after hearing that Qin was attacking the Western continent, the Eastern continent started to gather an army to attack Qin. Because the situation was the same, both sides had set up a large number of isolation zones, and the Eastern continent factions used Zhao Fu's method to first use ice crystal powder to create massive ice islands and teleport soldiers over. Just as Zhao Fu was about to send city lords to scout ahead while he destroyed the isolation zones, something unexpected happened. Swish, 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 arrows shot out from under the water, tearing through the air as they shot toward the Eastern continent soldiers on the ice islands. The black wave of arrows caused the soldiers on the ice islands to feel greatly startled, and they hurriedly went into defensive mode. Shield bearers walked up and held their large shields, sending out semicircular barriers. The semicircular barriers formed a massive semicircular barrier that blocked the incoming arrows. This sudden attack had only caused very little damage. It could be seen that both sides had made preparations. The city lords in the sky looked over and found that there were figures swimming in the water. They were the fish scale people. The fish scale people were skilled at fighting underwater, and in order to unify the Eastern continent, Qin had prepared for a long time. He had stayed here to form the first line of defense. The Eastern continent had sent out 8 billion soldiers and 20,000 or so city lords. They understood that this was their last chance, and if they did not use their full strength, they would be destroyed. There were only 1 billion fish scale people underwater, and 400 million of them were soldiers, while the remaining 600 million were militia. The Eastern continent's city lords knew that the fish scale people were quite powerful underwater, so they gave the order to counterattack on the ice islands. They also wanted to join forces with the soldiers to repel the fish-scale people and head to the Midland continent. However, the city lords on Qin's side gave off terrifying auras as they appeared. In terms of soldiers, Qin's side was weaker, but in terms of city lords, Qin's side had slightly more city lords. This forced the eastern continent's city lords to stop, and their expressions became quite unsightly. Swish, 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 the eastern continent's archers drew their bows and shot out arrows, which arced through the air and flew toward the countless fish-scale people. At that moment, the fish-scale people immediately dove down and used the water's resistance to block the arrows, causing them to miss. Chapter 1094. The 5 people who had appeared were Gania, Zhao Sha, Zhao Mo, Elise, and Mo Yao Er. They all wielded 5 sect armaments, which were as powerful as nation armaments. The 5 legatees of the Eastern faction had never thought that Great Qin would have such power. Great Qin had never shown it before. It seemed that they had underestimated Great Qin. Before, they had thought that Great Qin's legatee could use many nation armaments, but now that everyone else had the same power, Great Qin's power was simply too terrifying. After Gania and the others appeared, they did not waste any words and directly attacked. Terrifying attacks flew towards the 5 legatees of the Eastern faction. The strongest, Zhao Mo, faced off against Ramus, who had already established a kingdom, while the other 4 found their own legatees. 5 nation armaments against 5 sect armaments, and the terrifying shockwaves were not any weaker than the shockwaves from a battle between thousands of city lords. Everyone felt as if they had fallen into an icy cavern, and they felt terror from the bottom of their hearts. The soldiers in the surroundings unconsciously distanced themselves from this region because it was simply too terrifying. Otherwise, they might be caught up in the shockwaves and die. Gania and the others were incredibly powerful, and they were able to suppress the 5 legatees from the very beginning. Zhao Mo turned into a 100-meter-tall demon and gave off a heaven-toppling demonic chi as he ferociously attacked Ramus. Before, even without a nation armament, just the Demon King's power within his body would have been enough to kill people with nation armaments. Now that he had a nation armament, he was even more powerful. Even though Ramus had established a kingdom and obtained the true power of a kingdom, he was still not a match for the ferocious Zhao Mo. Gania's sword technique was incredibly sharp and gave off cold light, forcing the legatee to continuously retreat. If he was not careful, he would be injured. Zhao Sha held the demon blade Muramesa in both hands. Because his main profession was an assassin, his movements were incredibly swift and unpredictable, and he could attack from all sorts of angles. Moreover, each of his attacks was incredibly vicious, making it difficult for the Eastern legatee. Elise continuously shot out countless spiderweb threads and did not take the initiative to get close. If she did, she would unleash a ferocious attack, causing the Eastern legatee to feel a chill down his spine. Mo Yao Er swung her demonic sword and continuously attacked the Eastern legatee. Even though her attacks were terrifying, Mo Yao Er gave off an alluring aura, and her devilish figure made people burn with desire. The Eastern legatee was a man, and when he fought with Mo Yao Er, his eyes became red as if he was about to be bewitched by Mo Yao Er. If he could do it with Mo Yao Er, he would be willing to die. In the sky, Gania and the others had a great advantage. In the battle between the city lords, Great Qin had a slight advantage by relying on their superior equipment. However, on the battlefield below, Great Qin's side was at a great disadvantage. There were 11 massive creatures, including birds, bears, and devils, ferociously attacking the Great Wall, causing many deaths. These 11 massive creatures were the core formations. This was because Great Qin soldiers were mainly militia, and under the ferocious attacks of the Eastern legatee, they had suffered great losses, and the Great Wall was about to be breached. On the other side, the undead army was continuously being killed by the Eastern legatee, and it seemed that they would soon be destroyed. The fish-scale people were also attacking from the ocean, while the Eastern legatee was mainly defending, and the battle was also quite intense. In terms of military strength, the Eastern legatee had a great advantage. If this went on, they would definitely break through Great Qin's Great Wall and invade Great Qin's territory. However, Great Qin did not have any soldiers here. According to the plan, the southern continent's Night Dynasty would defend, but the Night Dynasty did not come. Even though it was quite difficult for the 5 Eastern legatees to face Great Qin's attacks, looking at the situation below, they felt quite delighted. As long as the soldiers below could break through Great Qin's Great Wall and deal with Guinea and the others, they would be able to obtain victory. Kill. If we break through Great Qin's Great Wall, we'll win. Ramus exploded out with a terrifying aura, forcing Zhao Mo back a step. He loudly roared, causing the Eastern Continent's army's morale to rise, and the Eastern Continent's city lords attacked even harder. Wei Liao's expression did not change as he watched the battle. He was not worried at all, nor did he give any orders. Boom! A massive explosion sounded out as the Eastern Continent's void barrier was forcefully broken through, and a young man giving off terrifying demonic chi appeared in the sky. Following this, soldiers giving off powerful demonic chi were sent to the Eastern Continent through teleportation channels and started to attack. The Eastern Continent's defending factions were greatly shocked. They had never thought that the Dark Demon race would attack from the north. The various factions quickly sent soldiers to defend, but most of their forces were used to attack Great Qin, and only a small portion remained. Yizong had brought 20,000 city lords and 1 billion soldiers, and they gave off an incredibly ferocious aura as they rampaged through the Eastern Continent. Cities and regions were unable to resist at all and were conquered. After hearing that the Eastern Continent's factions had mobilized almost all of their forces, Great Qin changed its strategy. They did not know that the Dark Demon World's southern continent belonged to Great Qin, so they naturally did not know that Great Qin could use the Night Dynasty's power. This was a big advantage, as Great Qin could use the Night Dynasty to suddenly attack the Eastern Continent. This would catch them off guard and allow them to make massive gains. At the Midland Continent, the Eastern Continent's factions were about to break through Great Qin's Great Wall. However, after hearing about the situation in the Eastern Continent, their expressions fell, and their joy turned into sorrow. They had never thought that the Dark Demon race would also participate. What should they do now? Facing the scene of their rear being swept away, the leaders of the Eastern Continent who came to attack panicked, because they were about to lose. Now, they only had 2 choices: continue to attack Great Qin or immediately return to defend. The second choice was that they would not be able to return in time, and with Great Qin's countless soldiers delaying them, they could not retreat at all. As such, they hardened their hearts and gave the order to continue attacking. If they could break through the Midland Continent, they would have a trace of hope. The Eastern Continent's aura rose, and they started to attack even more ferociously. A few hours later, the sun set in the west, and the golden sunlight covered the ground with a layer of gold. After paying a massive price, the Eastern Continent's factions had broken through Great Qin's Great Walls, and there was blood and corpses everywhere. However, the Eastern Continent side was at a disadvantage. Countless city lords had lost their strength and had been killed, and Great Qin city lords had turned to attack countless soldiers. Now, only 2 of the Eastern Continent's 5 legatees remained. Even though Great Qin's side had suffered heavy losses, it was still Great Qin who had won in the end. Now the Eastern Continent side was doomed. In the end, Wei Liao let out a sigh of relief, and a trace of a smile appeared on his face. Chapter 1095. Now, countless factions from the 3 continents had gathered in the western side. There were system factions, player factions, and countless dynasty legatees that Great Qin had not destroyed, such as China's remaining dynasty legatees. There was also Akhenaten and Babylon, who controlled the last 2 clan armaments in the human world. The Western continent was incredibly dangerous, but they did not dare to directly face off against Qin because Qin's power was simply too terrifying. Now that Qin was about to break through their defenses, they had to do something. What should we do then? How can we avoid a direct confrontation and attack Qin's army from the side? Tina sat on her golden throne and thought to herself. This day had finally come, and even though she wanted to face off against Zhao Fu, she understood that with her current strength, she was not a match for Zhao Fu at all. She would not directly face off against Qin, as she would most likely lose. Only by attacking from the side would they have an advantage in the battle. Jiang Ziya walked out and said, "If we want to weaken Qin's power without facing him head-on, this old man has an idea. However, I'll need the various espers and espers to help us." Hearing this, everyone felt delighted and nodded in agreement. They greatly trusted Jiang Ziya, the most famous figure in history. If he had an idea, it would definitely not be an ordinary one. As such, everyone worked together, and countless espers and espers gathered together. One of the most important figures by Tina Pendragon's side, the Western continent's legendary wizard Merlin, also participated. There were many flags on the massive platform built by the sea, and the flags fluttered in the wind. There were all sorts of magic tools on the ground, including swords, sabers, drums, bells, zither, staffs, and axes, and they were all lined up in an orderly fashion. Jiang Ziya was dressed in white clothes and stood at the center, giving off an ethereal and celestial feeling. He slowly closed his eyes and spread out his hands, causing a vast, formless energy to spread out. The countless magic tools in the surroundings seemed to sense something and continuously trembled. Boom! A massive explosion sounded out as the countless magic tools continuously trembled and gave off all sorts of lights before turning into rays of light that shot into the sky, forming a massive magic formation. Immediately, the heavens and earth seemed to dim as the weather changed. The spiritual chi of heaven and earth frantically gathered there as if it was solid, forming a violent gale that blew up countless sand and stones, making it hard for people to open their eyes. An immense pressure came from the magic formation. It was almost tangible, and everything in the surroundings seemed to be pressed down by something heavy. There were also smaller platforms around them, numbering in the thousands. There were people standing on them, and there were all sorts of magic tools on the platforms. They also started to cast their spells. Waves of formless energy spread out, and the various small platforms also shone brightly. Boom, boom, boom. Suddenly, massive waves of aura flowed out from the platform and into the massive magic formation in the sky. The massive magic formation received immense power and expanded from 10,000 meters to 100,000 meters. The terrifying aura seemed to break through the 9 heavens, causing the heavens and earth to dim and the sun and moon to dim. The weather in the surroundings started to change. Berserk gales, lightning flashed, thunder roared, rain poured, and the earth shook as if a natural disaster was about to descend. On the other side, Zhao Fu had already broken through the second defensive line and was about to destroy the third defensive line when a wild gale blew towards him. Zhao Fu looked ahead and saw a thick layer of black clouds rushing towards him, and there was lightning within the black clouds. This gave off an oppressive feeling, as if a storm was about to arrive. It was incredibly dangerous. The weather had suddenly changed on such a massive scale, and it was not natural at all. It was because someone had done something, and Zhao Fu shouted, "Send a message to the 100 schools of thought and the various sects and factions. Tell them to come and deal with this." Qin was not proficient at calling the wind and summoning the rain, reversing yin and yang, and so on. However, the other side had people with abilities, and so did Qin. Zhao Fu did not want to waste too much power, because the true battle had not even begun yet. It would not be good to suffer losses now, and this battle was incredibly important. As such, he could not afford to underestimate it, so he had to be careful. Following this, Qin's countless mystics and aberrations hurried over. Looking at the abnormal signs, they quickly thought of a way to deal with it. The Taoist sect master bowed to Zhao Fu and said, "Your Majesty, the other side has forcibly used the heaven and earth essence qi to create many abnormal signs. The other party forcibly manipulated the world's origin chi to create many phenomenons that are extremely powerful, but we just need to use the same method to calm the world's origin chi. Hearing this, Zhao Fu nodded and ordered them to immediately start. The various sects and factions started to build platforms on the island of ice before carving out their own magic formations. At this time, the thick dark clouds had already covered the sky, and the wind was blowing fiercely, making it impossible for people to stand still. Heavy rain was also pouring down, and bolts of lightning struck the island of ice. There were even bull-sized hailstones falling down. Zhao Fu frowned. This was just the beginning. The destruction after this would be many times greater than this. They had to stop it, or else they would suffer great losses. Boom, boom, boom. At that moment, multicolored pillars of light shot into the sky, giving off massive sounds and shaking the heavens and earth. The scene of hundreds of huge pillars of light standing tall gave off a vast and majestic aura, and it was extremely shocking. These pillars of light shot into the sky, dyeing the sky multicolored. Heaven and earth essence chi madly gathered, but did not cause any abnormal signs. Instead, it gave off a peaceful and stable aura. Rainbow-colored clouds condensed in the sky, forming a layer of rainbow-colored clouds that gave off a rainbow-colored light and swam towards the thick, dark clouds. When the dark clouds that gave off a terrifying, destructive aura met the auspicious rainbow-colored clouds, they automatically disappeared. The abnormal signs quickly disappeared and everything calmed down. Jiang Zia and the others from the western continent sensed Qin's interference, and their expressions became serious as they unleashed their full power. His body gave off a faint white light as he rose into the air and flew below the massive magic formation in the sky. He stretched out a hand and vigorously pressed down. Boom! A shocking explosion sounded out as the countless magic tools within the magic formation continuously trembled and exploded out with a terrifying power. The massive magic formation started to spin, tearing apart the space around it. The dark clouds on Zhao Fu's side started to change, giving off an even more intense and dangerous aura. The color of the clouds became even darker, and the wind became even stronger. Thunder and lightning rampaged as countless hailstones fell like rain. Chapter 1096. The countless rainbow-colored clouds in the sky were constantly surging and condensing. Rays of beautiful rainbow-colored light shot out from the clouds and landed on the black clouds, causing them to dissipate. Jiang Zi's expression did not change as he yelled, "Everyone, listen to my commands and activate 10,000 spirits." Hearing Jiang Zi's words, the people on the platforms took out sharp blades and cut their palms, allowing their blood to flow onto the platforms. The platforms absorbed the blood and gave off faint blood-red lights as images of people flew out from the platforms and shot into the magic formation in the sky. The figures entered the massive magic formation in the sky, and the magic formation seemed to have a life of its own. Jiang Zia raised his hand and vigorously pressed down, causing a massive wave of energy to spread out from the magic formation. Roar, roar, roar. Countless roars sounded out from Zhao Fu's side as countless massive figures appeared within the thick black clouds and roared at the rainbow-colored clouds. The black clouds' power increased by many times, and they seemed to have a life of their own as they flowed towards the rainbow-colored clouds. When the rainbow-colored clouds came into contact with the black clouds, they gradually dissipated, causing the 100 schools of thought's expressions to once again fall, and they exploded out with even greater power. The aura that the pillars of light gave off became even more powerful, and the rainbow-colored clouds continuously surged as the rainbow-colored light became even more intense. The black clouds and rainbow-colored clouds clashed in the sky, and either the black clouds disappeared or the rainbow-colored clouds disappeared. After a few hours, the black clouds suddenly became even more ferocious, and the rainbow-colored clouds started to lose ground and continuously disappeared. The abnormal signs that had disappeared once again appeared. Wild gales and lightning once again exploded, creating a terrifying scene. Xianru, who was beside Zhao Fu, said, "Your Majesty, we're going to lose this time. The other side has gathered all of the ability users and espers from 3 continents, as well as the people from the West. There are simply too many of them, and even the sect masters can't do anything about it. Is there any way to resolve this?" Zhao Fu stood with his hands behind his back and looked at the thick black clouds seriously. Shinru gave a slight smile as she said, "I'm here because of this matter. His Majesty started this unification war, causing the entire human world's fate to fall into chaos. Those espers and espers have changed the yin-yang heavenly signs to stop His Majesty, but they've already gone against the heavens. Your Majesty, you need this war to be acknowledged by the heavens and earth. Then, you can use karmic luck to counterattack these people, and the matter will naturally be resolved." A trace of a smile appeared on Zhao Fu's face as he asked Shinru what to do. After that, Zhao Fu also stood on a high platform. However, this time, Zhao Fu was already wearing a black dragon robe and a black golden dragon crown on his head. In front of him was a tribute table with all sorts of offerings. Zhao Fu took out the Qin royal seal. The royal seal slowly rose from Zhao Fu's hand and rose into the sky. Ayo, ayo, ayo. 9 dragons' roars sounded out as the Qin royal seal gave off intense black light, and 9 black dragons flew out, giving off massive dragon's might. Zhao Fu's expression was serious as he stretched out a hand towards the sky and shouted, "We are the ruler of the Qin Empire and have unified the Central Continent, Northern Continent, and Southern Continent, becoming the first dynasty to unify the 3 continents. This unification war is the mandate of the heavens." As his voice fell, countless traces of fate from the Central Continent, Southern Continent, and Northern Continent gathered toward Zhao Fu. Boom! A shocking explosion sounded out as a massive pillar of black light rushed into the sky. Zhao Fu stood at the center of the pillar of light, looking holy and dignified. His raised hand descended, pointing at the 100 schools of thought sect masters as he said in a thunderous voice, "We bestow upon you the mandate of the heavens." The countless sect masters' bodies trembled as they felt an unimaginable power flow into their bodies, and a black dragon's image appeared in their eyes. Boom, boom, boom. The hundreds of pillars of light seemed to receive immense power and exploded out with even more intense light. The rainbow-colored clouds in the sky gave off blinding light and gave off a massive aura as they rushed forwards. The countless black clouds instantly dissipated, and the countless people on the Western continent felt as if they had been hit by a massive force. They crashed to the ground and coughed up a large mouthful of blood. Jiang Zia was the most heavily injured. After coughing up a large mouthful of blood, he was unable to stand in the sky and fell from the sky. This was the final battle of the human world, and the first clash ended with the Western continent's defeat. Qin's army continued to advance towards the Western continent. On the other side, the Eastern continent had broken through the 4th void barrier that Qin had set up and was advancing towards the Midland continent. Right now, there was only a temporary void barrier that Qin had set up. This temporary void barrier was naturally quite weak and could be easily destroyed. The ice islands gave off terrifying auras as they swam forwards like battleships, giving off immense pressure. The fish scale people were unable to stop them at all, and if they charged forwards, they would be smashed to death. As such, they could only think of other methods. Qin had prepared a large amount of ice crystal powder, and Qin's fish scale people immediately used a large amount of ice crystal powder to create a zone of ice. This zone of ice was tens of thousands of meters wide, and it was impossible for the ice islands to directly smash through it. In order to stall for time, the formation masters set up another temporary void barrier to stall for time. As long as they could stall for time, it would be fine. The more Qin's side tried to stall for time, the more anxious the Eastern continent people became, because they could sense that they did not have much time left. Seeing Great Qin's icebound belt, the Eastern Continent faction used another method. Fiery red pearls that were as big as watermelons shot out, giving off countless searing flames and turning into massive flaming beasts. Roar! Roar! These flame beasts looked like rhinoceroses, and they roared as they gave off intense heat as they charged towards the void barrier. The flame beasts were incredibly fast, and they were like fiery rays of light as they shot towards the void barrier. The terrifying heat caused the ice to instantly melt. The flaming beast continued to charge forward, melting more and more ice. Fiery streaks appeared on the surface of the ice. Although it didn't melt the ice in the end, the ice was already broken, and there were huge cracks on the ice. Countless ice islands slammed into the rift ferociously. With a series of loud noises, the long frozen zone was smashed into pieces. Then, all the ice was shattered into pieces. The ice island continued to advance and easily broke through the fifth temporary isolation zone. The fish scale people on Qin's side also used their final method. They poured barrels of flaming oil into the water and lit them on fire, causing the water to turn into a sea of flames. The sea of flames was incredibly hot, and the seawater started to bubble. This made it so that the fish scale people did not dare to get close. If the countless ice islands charged in, not only would many of the ice islands melt, but there would also be many casualties. Chapter 1097. After entering the Sea of Flames, the island quickly collapsed, and the eastern side could only toss out countless ice crystals. They also constructed ice walls to block the terrifying heat waves. In the end, they charged out of the Sea of Flames without suffering any losses and destroyed all of Qin's defenses. They then started to construct teleportation channels to head to the central continent and attack Qin. Now, the fish scale people could no longer stop them, so they could only quickly retreat and defend. On the Midland Continent's Great Wall, Qin had left 1 billion soldiers here. However, only 200 million of them were regular soldiers, while 800 million of them were militia. Militia were just temporary residents, so they were naturally not as strong as regular soldiers. The fish scale people only had 400 million regular soldiers and 600 million militia, which added up to 2 billion soldiers. However, they only had 600 million regular soldiers, so if they fought against the 1.8 billion soldiers of the eastern side, it was very likely that Qin's side would lose. Of course, Zhao Fu had other methods, or else he would not have been so confident in attacking the western continent. After the eastern side stepped onto the central continent's territory, they did not immediately attack. They did not dare to be careless in this battle. Soldiers gathered, and the eastern continent's legatees also appeared. There were now 5 people with nation armaments. They had also frozen the coastal regions to prevent the fish scale people from attacking in the water. It could be said that they had made ample preparations. Without hesitating, the eastern side's legatees gave the order to attack. If they broke through the central continent, Qin would definitely retreat, and Qin's unification would fail. Kill! Countless eastern side soldiers roared as they charged towards the Great Wall, giving off shocking sounds. At the same time, the eastern side left many soldiers behind to prevent the fish scale people from attacking from the rear. On Qin's side, Wei Liao was the highest commander. Facing the countless eastern side soldiers, he immediately gave the order to counterattack. Swish, 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 arrows containing terrifying power flew out, drawing out arcs in the sky as they rained down like torrential rain. Some of the eastern side soldiers swung their weapons, sending out sharp lights that knocked the arrows away. Some used shields to block, while others used bows and arrows to shoot at Qin's soldiers on the Great Wall. Just like that, the battle between the two sides began. The various city lords had already started fighting in the sky, sending out terrifying gales. The scene was quite terrifying. Boom! A massive explosion sounded out as 10 black pillars of light shot into the sky, and a magic formation with a boundless, deathly aura appeared. Undead disaster, activate. Roar! Countless skeletons rushed out from one side, letting out roars. There were more than 200 million of them. With so many skeletons, Qin was a little worried about being devoured by them, so he didn't arrange for them to stay close. The countless skeletons formed a sea of bones that gave off a boundless undead aura as they ferociously charged towards the eastern side, giving off terrifying sounds that shook the surroundings. Ordinary people would be so scared that their legs would turn to jelly in front of the sea of bones. However, the expressions of the eastern soldiers didn't change at all. Qin had used the undead disaster a few years ago. Everyone knew about it, and they had ways to deal with it. Squads of soldiers in white armor walked out and formed a defensive wall. Their equipment emitted a faint white light with a strong holy aura. They were equipped with the power of the holy light to deal with Qin's undead scourge. Not only that, but the archers also shot arrows with white crystals tied to them. Bang! Bang! Explosions sounded out as the white crystals exploded, causing white light to shine and searing holy light to spread out. Countless skeletons howled as they died. This wave of attacks caused the sea of bones to weaken, but because of the undead's nature, they still fearlessly roared and rushed towards the eastern side soldiers. The sea of bones slammed into the white defensive wall. Boom! A massive explosion sounded out, but the white defensive wall blocked the sea of bones. The countless shield-bearers gripped their shields, and the infantrymen behind them started to attack, sending out sharp lights with holy light attributes. The skeletons didn't resist much and were quickly killed, unable to harm the eastern side soldiers at all. Seeing this, Wei Liao's expression did not change. These skeletons were used as cannon fodder to stall the eastern side soldiers. Under Wei Liao's orders, barrels of kerosene were tossed out and set ablaze. Many of the eastern side soldiers were set ablaze, and they screamed before being burned alive. Swish, 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 countless arrows containing immense power flew towards the defensive wall, and it was difficult for the militia to defend against them. Blood flew everywhere, and some people were injured while others directly died. The fish-scale people in the water were also fighting with the eastern side soldiers at the back. The battle was quite intense, but they mainly used ranged attacks. The eastern side soldiers didn't want to fight in the water, and the fish-scale people didn't want to fight on land either. After all, both sides were at a disadvantage. The eastern side had a slight advantage, as they were all regular soldiers. Most of them had stage 1 cultivation, and they were much stronger than Qin's militia. Boom, 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 boom. 5 explosions sounded out as 5 powerful waves of power exploded out. The eastern side's 5 legatees with nation armaments wanted to break through Qin's defenses, so they directly used their nation armament's power. The 5 of them stood in the sky, 5 aura flames burning around their bodies, causing wild gales to blow. They gave off a mountainous might, as if they were peerless experts. Now that Qin's legatee was heading to the western side, no one could stop the 5 of them. After all, the power of a nation armament was not that easy to defend against, and this was especially so for Ramus, who was a true king. The 5 of them gave confident smiles. They would definitely be able to break through Qin's defenses and force Qin to retreat, causing Qin to fail in unifying the human world. Qin had been too overconfident this time, wanting to unify the human world. However, he did not have the ability to do so, and they had only been able to do so because of the Western continent. 70% of Qin's forces had been sent to the Western continent to fight, which was why the 5 of them were invincible. The 5 of them did not waste any time, and just as they were about to attack, the next scene caused their expressions to fall. Boom, 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 boom. 5 terrifying waves of power exploded out, and their massive auras spread out, shaking the heavens and earth. A white-clothed swordsman, a teenager, a beautiful and cruel woman, a demon covered in demonic chi, and an incredibly seductive woman appeared. The 5 of them gave off powerful auras as they appeared. Chapter 1098. The 5 people who appeared were Gunya, Zhao Sha, Zhao Mo, Elise, and Mo Yao Air. They wielded 5 sect armaments, which are on par with nation armaments. The 5 legatees of the Eastern faction had never thought that Qin would have such power. Qin had never shown it before. They had underestimated Qin this time. They had thought that Qin's legatee could use many nation armaments, and now that the others had the same power, Qin's power was simply too terrifying. After Gunya and the others appeared, they did not waste any words and directly attacked. Terrifying attacks flew towards the 5 Eastern faction legatees. The strongest of them, Zhao Mo, dealt with Ramus, who had already established a kingdom, while the other 4 found their own legatees. 5 nation armaments against 5 sect armaments, and the terrifying shockwaves were no weaker than the shockwaves from a battle between thousands of city lords. Everyone felt as if they had fallen into an icy cavern, and they felt terror from the bottom of their hearts. The soldiers in the surroundings unconsciously distanced themselves from this region because it was simply too terrifying. Otherwise, they would be killed by the shockwaves. Gunya and the others were incredibly powerful, and they were able to suppress the 5 Eastern faction legatees from the very beginning. Zhao Mo turned into a 100-meter-tall demon and gave off a heaven-toppling demonic chi as he ferociously attacked Ramus. Before, even without a nation armament, Zhao Mo could kill people with nation armaments with just his Demon King's power. Now that he had a nation armament, he was even more powerful. Even though Ramus had established a kingdom and obtained the true power of a kingdom, he was still no match for the ferocious Zhao Mo. Nie's sword technique was incredibly sharp and gave off cold light, forcing the Eastern faction legatees to continuously retreat. If they were not careful, they would be injured. Zhao Sha held the demon blade Muramesa in both hands. Because his main profession was an assassin, his movements were incredibly swift and unpredictable, and he could attack from all sorts of angles. Moreover, each of his attacks was incredibly vicious, making it difficult for the Eastern faction legatees. Elise continuously shot out countless spider webs and did not take the initiative to get close. Once she did, she would unleash a ferocious attack, causing the Eastern faction legatees to feel a chill on their backs. Mo Yao Air swung her demon sword and continuously attacked the Eastern legatee. Even though her attacks were terrifying, Mo Yao Air gave off an alluring aura, and her devilish figure made people burn with desire. This Eastern legatee was also a man, and as he fought with Mo Yao Air, his eyes became bloodshot, as if he was about to be bewitched by Mo Yao Air. If he could do it with Mo Yao Air, he would be willing to die. In the sky, Gunya's group of 5 had many advantages. In the battle between the city lords, Qin relied on his equipment and had a slight advantage. However, on the battlefield below, Qin's side was in a very disadvantageous position. At this time, 11 gigantic creatures, including birds, bears, and evil spirits, were fiercely attacking the city walls, causing many deaths. These 11 gigantic creatures were the product of the 11 armies. Qin's main force was the militia. Under the fierce attacks of the Eastern forces, they had suffered great losses, and the Great Wall was about to be breached. On the other side, the undead army was also getting weaker and weaker under the continuous attacks of the Eastern forces. It looked like it was about to be annihilated. The fish-scale people were also attacking from the ocean, while the Eastern forces were mainly defending, and the battle was also quite intense. In terms of military strength, the Eastern forces had a great advantage. If this went on, they would definitely be able to break through Qin's Great Wall and enter Qin's territory. Here, Qin did not have any soldiers at all. According to the plan, the Southern Continent's Night Dynasty would defend, but the Night Dynasty had not come to defend. Even though it was quite difficult for the 5 Eastern legatees to face Qin's attacks, looking at the situation below, they felt quite delighted. As long as the soldiers below could break through Qin's Great Wall and deal with Gunya's group of 5, they would be able to obtain victory. Kill. If we break through Qin's Great Wall, we'll win. Ramus exploded out with a terrifying aura, forcing Zhao Mo back a step. He loudly roared, causing the Eastern forces' morale to rise, and the eastern city lords attacked even harder. Wei Liao's expression did not change as he watched the battle. He was not worried about the situation and did not give any orders. Boom! A massive explosion sounded out as the eastern continent's void barrier was forcefully broken through, and a young man giving off terrifying demonic chi appeared in the sky. Following this, soldiers giving off powerful demonic chi were sent to the eastern continent through teleportation channels and started to attack. The eastern continent's defending forces were greatly startled. They had never thought that the dark demon race would attack from the north. The various factions hurriedly sent soldiers to defend, but most of their forces had been used to attack Qin, and only a small portion of their forces remained. Yizong had brought 20,000 city lords and 1 billion soldiers, and they gave off a ferocious aura as they started to wreak havoc in the eastern continent. Cities and regions were unable to resist at all, and they were conquered. After hearing that the eastern continent's forces had all been mobilized, Qin had changed his strategy. They did not know that the southern continent belonged to Qin, so they naturally did not know that Qin could use the Night Dynasty's power. This was a great advantage. Qin could use the Night Dynasty to suddenly attack the eastern continent. This would catch them off guard and allow them to make massive gains. On the central continent side, the eastern continent's forces had almost broken through Qin's Great Wall. However, after hearing about the situation in the eastern continent, their expressions fell and their joy turned to grief. They had never thought that the dark demon race would also join in. What should they do now? Facing the scene of their rear being swept away, the leaders of the eastern continent who came to attack panicked because they were about to lose. Now, they only had two choices: continue to attack Great Qin or immediately return to defend. The second choice was that they would not be able to return in time, and with Qin's countless soldiers holding them back, they could not retreat at all. Everyone hardened their hearts and gave the order to continue attacking. If they could break through the central continent, they would have a trace of hope. The eastern continent's forces became even more ferocious as they attacked. A few hours later, the sun set in the west, and the golden sunlight covered the ground with a layer of gold. After paying a massive price, the eastern continent's forces had finally broken through Qin's Great Wall, and there was blood and corpses everywhere. However, in the end, the eastern continent's forces were at a disadvantage. Countless city lords had been killed, and Qin's city lords had turned to attack countless soldiers. Of the eastern continent's 5 legatees, only 2 remained. Even though Qin's forces had suffered heavy losses, in the end, it was still Qin who had won. By now, the eastern continent's forces were doomed. In the end, Wei Liao let out a sigh of relief, and a trace of a smile appeared on his face. Chapter 1099. The two sides from the western continent clashed. There were countless armies below, and they were densely packed with people, looking like 2 massive oceans. One was wearing all sorts of armor and looked like a colorful ocean, giving off terrifying auras. The other was wearing black armor and looked like a black ocean, giving off a destructive and murderous aura. The 2 auras gathered here, causing the air in the entire human world to seem quite heavy. Not a single creature dared to stay here. There were also powerful figures standing in the sky. All of them were city lords, and their auras shook the heavens and earth. It could be said that it was the first time that so many city lords had gathered in the human world. The armies on the ground and the city lords in the sky seemed to be able to lock down the heavens and earth, causing everything to collapse. Even those far away could sense the danger ahead. Zhao Fu stood in the sky and looked at the people in front of him with a serious expression as he said, "It's time for everything to end. The human world needs to be unified. Only then will there be hope for humanity. I am the chosen one. If you submit to me, I will let bygones be bygones." The leaders of the various Chinese factions looked at Zhao Fu with complicated expressions. They had never thought that Qin would have such a day. If they had known, they would have destroyed him as soon as possible, and they would not have ended up like this. Facing Zhao Fu's offer of amnesty, they did not even think about it before rejecting. Firstly, They had formed deep enmity with Qin, and they did not believe that Zhao Fu would let it go so easily. Secondly, as the legatees of the various empires, none of them were willing to submit to anyone else. Li Baiqing's expression was the most complicated. He had never thought that Zhao Fu would be Qin's legatee. Moreover, in terms of bloodline, Zhao Fu was his big brother. Now, he was the person who was going to unify the world and destroy the Li family. It was not just the Chinese people. The people from the southern continent and the northern continent all looked at Zhao Fu hatefully. It was all because of Qin that they had become like this. The people from the western continent all looked at Tina Pendragon, who was wearing a silver knight's dress and holding a golden sword. Tina Pendragon said with a serious expression, "Legatee Qin, I don't want to start a war, and I can promise that the British Empire will never invade Qin. Perhaps we can coexist peacefully." Zhao Fu glanced at the crowd and said coldly, "The human world needs to be unified. Only in this way can there be no wars, and can we resist other worlds. Qin has to unify the human world no matter what. I'll ask you one last time. Are you willing to surrender?" Hearing Zhao Fu's cold and murderous voice, Tina Pendragon replied seriously, "Even if I refuse, the great British Empire will not submit to anyone. If Prince Qin wants to fight, I will accompany you to the end. You should really want to kill me, right? Today, I will give you a chance." Zhao Fu coldly laughed and took out two swords. One was the Emperor Killing Sword, and the other was the Death Sword. Boom! A massive explosion sounded out as a terrifying aura exploded out, sending out wild gales. The Emperor Killing Sword's terrifying killing intent flowed into Zhao Fu's body, causing Zhao Fu's eyes to give off a blood-red light. His long hair became blood-red, and a sword mark appeared on his forehead. The Qin royal seal continuously trembled as 9 black dragons rose up from Zhao Fu's body, and an eerie, ghostly qi spread out. In that moment, Zhao Fu used the Emperor Killing Sword's power, the Qin royal seal's power, and the 6 Paths demon image's power, allowing him to explode out with his full power. 3 ferocious aura flames burst forth from his body, completely covering Zhao Fu's body. Only his blood-red eyes gave off a bright blood-red light within the aura flames, making them seem quite eye-catching. The surrounding space seemed to be unable to withstand this terrifying power and was continuously collapsing. That vast aura, which was like a river of stars, caused everyone in the surrounding 1,000 kilometers to feel their bodies sink as if they were tiny grains of sand. By now, Zhao Fu had to use his full power because he was facing countless legatees, and there were 27 people with nation armaments. Facing Zhao Fu's full power attack, the legatees' expressions became serious. They understood that this was the final battle, so they did not hold back and exploded out with their full power. Aura flames burst forth from their bodies, and their terrifying auras shook the heavens and earth. Boom! Zhao Fu held his 2 swords and rushed out, giving off terrifying power as he tore through space and shot towards Tina Pendragon, who was the most powerful person here. Even though Zhao Fu's attack had officially drawn the curtains to this massive battle, Zhao Fu's aura was still extremely powerful. Boom! Boom! Powerful auras exploded out as the city lords exploded out with terrifying power. They turned into rays of light and rushed out, and a massive battle unfolded in the sky. With so many city lords fighting, the entire sky seemed to be torn apart. The soldiers on the ground also started to attack. The first wave was talisman arrows, which looked like white rays of light and gave off terrifying and sharp auras as they flew towards the western continent's defensive walls. In the face of these terrifying arrows, the western continent's people immediately activated their defensive barriers to protect the defensive walls. With how terrifying Qin's talisman arrows were, it was possible that they would be able to pierce through the defensive walls. The countless talisman arrows landed on the defensive barriers with immense force, looking like a white rain of light. Massive explosions sounded out, and the defensive barriers were covered with cracks. However, they were still able to block Qin's attacks. The The Western continent's people immediately dispelled the defensive barriers and started to repair them. At the same time, the soldiers on the defensive walls drew their bows and shot out arrows. The countless arrows covered Qin before descending like rain. Qin's soldiers loudly roared and gave off powerful auras as they swung their weapons, sending out countless sharp lights that blasted away the incoming arrows. Swish, 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 another ray of white light tore through the sky, and the arrows that seemed to be able to pierce through everything covered the defensive walls, causing people's hairs to stand on end. The defensive barrier once again spread out, but it was unable to block this time. The defensive barrier was already covered with many cracks, and after this attack, the countless rays of white light pierced through the defensive barrier and shot towards the countless soldiers. Arg! Arg! Countless cries sounded out as the rays of white light descended, giving off power that seemed to be able to pierce through everything. The soldiers' bodies were pierced, and large holes appeared on the defensive walls, causing countless casualties. The Western continent's people were infuriated and shot out different colored pearls. These pearls gave off different auras of disaster. They were disaster pearls, which Qin had obtained before. Chapter 1100. Qin had once used disaster pearls to deal with his enemies, and now his enemies were using disaster pearls to deal with Qin. These disaster pearls caused many casualties to Qin. Bai Qi's gaze became cold as he said, "Give the order for all corps to move out." Boom! Boom! The 56 corps rushed towards the Great Wall from different directions, roaring as they exploded out with terrifying auras. Auras flowed out and formed massive creatures. The Demon King Corps formed a Demon King that gave off evil demonic chi. The Sword Mountain Corps formed a sharp sword that gave off countless sharp sword chi. The Water God Corps formed a water god that gave off countless traces of mist. The Ice Corps formed an ice woman that gave off countless traces of icy chi. The Fire Corps formed a fire woman that gave off countless scorching flames. The Spider Corps formed a massive spider that gave off a ferocious aura. The 56 massive creatures were formed and gave off terrifying power as they rushed towards the Great Wall with unstoppable momentum. Boom! 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 The Great British Empire's commander also gave the order for all corps to move out. A total of 33 corps gave off terrifying auras as they appeared. Gee! A snow-white fox gave off an ear-piercing cry as it gave off a massive wave of ice and snow power, causing snowflakes to fall in the surroundings. Roar! A dragon's roar sounded out as a blue western dragon appeared, giving off a massive dragon's might that shook the surroundings and caused countless people to feel terror. Boom! Boundless golden light shined out as a golden staff condensed, giving off an incredibly noble king's aura and causing tens of thousands of people to submit. Great Britain's 33 Corps also formed 33 terrifying massive creatures that gave off terrifying auras as they rushed towards Qin's corps. Bang! 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 The air seemed to explode as the massive creatures from both sides ferociously clashed. A world-destroying shockwave spread out, causing the ground to collapse. Countless trees were uprooted, and countless people were sent flying. Boom! 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 The massive creatures from both sides disregarded everything as they fought intensely. The terrifying scene seemed to be as if the heavens and earth were collapsing, and everything was about to be destroyed. However, Qin's side had a great advantage. They had many soldiers, and Qin's soldiers were all special corps, while the Western continent only had 12 special corps. Moreover, Qin's army was much more powerful and had more soldiers. The Great British Empire's army was viciously beaten up by Qin's army, but the Great British Empire's army also fought with all their might. The Great British Empire's army was viciously beaten up by Qin's army, but the Great British Empire's army also fought with all their might. The doors were 10 or so meters tall and 7 or 8 meters wide, and they gave off terrifying power. There were 100 doors of each type, and 1,000 doors in total. The commander-in-chief ordered the doors to be opened. It was completely dark inside the doors, and a terrifying aura surged out, causing people to feel somewhat afraid. Roar! Countless roars sounded out from within the doors as countless goblins rushed out with weapons in their hands. Countless orcs, countless ogres, and countless elves. These creatures charged at Sheen, looking incredibly ferocious and bloodthirsty. There were tens of millions of them, and they gave off a shocking aura. Bai Qi did not hesitate to give the order to use the destruction crystals. Bang! Bang! Countless destruction crystals landed among the goblins and elves, causing massive explosions to sound out. The surroundings were filled with blinding white light, and a terrifying explosive power devoured everything, causing the ground to continuously tremble. Almost 70% of the tens of millions of Outlanders were killed, and the ground was covered with corpses, creating a bloody scene. Roar! Dragons' roars sounded throughout the sky as countless massive wyverns appeared in the sky, giving off powerful auras. Their eyes were filled with savagery as they looked at the Western Continent's army on the defensive walls. Roar! At that moment, humanoid monsters that were 100 meters tall and covered in heavy armor roared as they gave off bloody and bloodthirsty auras. The countless wyverns flapped their wings and brought with them wild gales as they swooped down. Their bellies bulged as they gathered countless flames and icy chi, preparing to spit out countless flames and icy blasts to attack the Western Continent's army on the defensive walls. Swish, swish, swish. Suddenly, the sound of the air being torn could be heard as over 100 massive arrows shot out, giving off terrifying ripples that could cause anyone's heart to tremble. Chi, chi, chi. Some of the wyverns were caught off guard and were hit by the arrows. The arrows were 10 or so meters long and contained terrifying force, easily piercing through the wyvern's defenses and piercing 4 or 5 meters into the ground. Roar! Countless pained dragons' roars sounded out as some of the wyverns were lightly injured and others were hit in the body. Some wyverns were hit in the head and died on the spot, and their massive bodies fell from the sky. At a hidden location, 150 dragon-slaying ballistae were brought out. Sheen had obtained 100 or so dragon-slaying ballistae from his region treasure chest, and the Western Continent had obtained more dragon-slaying ballistae to deal with Sheen's wyverns. The countless wyverns became cautious and did not dare to rashly attack. The 3,000 corpse soul leaders held heavy weapons as they rushed to the bottom of the defensive walls and ferociously attacked. These corpse soul leaders had heavy armor and shields, so the dragon-slaying ballistae were unable to harm them. The battle in the sky was also incredibly intense, and it was not any weaker than the battle on the ground. The city lord were desperately fighting, and terrifying shock waves rippled out, causing people's hands and feet to feel cold. At the same time, more and more people died, and city lords' corpses continuously fell from the sky. The most terrifying battle was on Zhao Fu's side. Right now, Zhao Fu was fighting against hundreds of legatees by himself, and the battle was incredibly terrifying. Only those with nation armaments had the qualifications to fight with Zhao Fu. Those without could only attack from afar. True King's Sword. Tina Pendragon raised her sword, and the Marquis King seal within her body continuously trembled as a massive wave of King's power flowed into the sword. A golden sword light rushed into the sky and dyed half the sky gold. Boom! Tina Pendragon slashed out, causing the heavens and earth to tremble. The golden sword light was filled with a king's aura, and it seemed to be able to slash apart anything as it slashed toward Zhao Fu. Bang! Zhao Fu immediately unleashed his Emperor's domain, protecting his body. As the golden sword light slashed against Zhao Fu's Emperor's domain, a massive explosion sounded out. The golden sword light seemed to have struck something incredibly tough and exploded, turning into a golden storm of sword chi. Crack! A clear cracking sound rang out as countless cracks appeared on the Emperor's domain, and Zhao Fu's body was forced back a few steps. Chapter 1101. This shout caused hundreds of legatees to appear, and nearly 1,000 people surrounded Zhao Fu. There were 20 or so dynasty legatees with nation armaments in the inner circle, and there were all sorts of legatees outside. They loudly roared and used all of their strength to activate their fate dragons, causing different auras to flow out of their bodies. There were red, white, black, green, and all sorts of other colors. Roar, roar, roar. Dragons' roars sounded throughout the sky as rays of light shot out from their bodies, giving off massive power as they shot into the sky, almost tearing it apart. The sky above the human world gradually darkened as the entire world's fate madly gathered like wild gales. Everyone sensed this and looked towards the west because the shockwaves from that direction were simply too powerful. The shockwaves here were indeed quite terrifying. Over 1,000 fate dragons gave off intense light as they spiraled in the sky, and their terrifying auras inundated everything like tsunamis. Everyone present could be said to be important figures in the human world, and with the human world's fate, each of their fate dragons could cause the heavens and earth to go through changes. Now that they were working together to cause changes to the heavens and earth, it was naturally quite terrifying. The terrifying shock waves spread throughout the entire battlefield, and many people could not help but look over. How could there be such terrifying power in the world? Boom! A massive explosion sounded out as the 1,000 fate dragons spiraling in the sky formed a massive dragon-shaped magic formation. An even more powerful might suddenly descended, causing the ground to instantly crumble. Some of the unlucky people within the magic formation were suddenly hit by a weight of 10,000 kilograms, causing their bodies to explode, causing blood and corpses to fly everywhere. Zhao Fu was below the magic formation, and his body seemed to be locked down by that terrifying power. Dragon images appeared around Zhao Fu and wrapped around Zhao Fu's body, making it so that Zhao Fu could not move at all. This made Zhao Fu feel quite startled, and he vigorously struggled but found that he could not break free at all. The dragon images tightly wrapped around Zhao Fu's body. The countless legatees in the surroundings grinned. This was something they had prepared for Zhao Fu, and their goal was to kill Zhao Fu. They had even burned their fate dragon's power. The fate dragon was one of the most important things to a person, and it affected a person's fate. The price to burn it was not small, and it was very difficult to recover the fate dragon's power. Everyone, let's kill this crown Prince Qin together. Seeing that Zhao Fu was trapped and unable to break free, one of the legatees could not help but shout out in joy. The surrounding people also attacked at this moment. All sorts of powerful attacks blasted toward Zhao Fu, causing the space around them to seemingly explode. In order to successfully kill Zhao Fu, the various legatees continuously attacked. The 20 or so dynasty legatees all used a large portion of their nation armament's power to attack Zhao Fu, causing explosions to continuously sound out in the sky. Seeing so many terrifying attacks continuously blast toward Zhao Fu, Bai Qi, who was commanding the legatees, could not help but feel a trace of worry. 10 minutes later, the countless legatees stopped and let out a sigh of relief. Now that they had unleashed so many terrifying attacks, they would definitely be able to blast Zhao Fu into pieces. Gradually, the light dissipated, and everyone looked terrified. They saw 6 chains coming out of Zhao Fu's chest, and 6 terrifying figures that were 4 meters tall appeared around him. One had a savage-looking face and a mouth full of fangs. There were 2 horns on its head, and it had a muscular body. Its hands were like sharp claws, and it wore black battle armor. It held a metal spear, and its body gave off a terrifying demonic flame. One looked like a demon and had a muscular body. Its skin was black, and it was naked. Tongues of flames occasionally appeared on its body, and it gave off a dense smell of sulfur. It had a demon's head and 2 black horns, and it held a pitchfork. One looked like a skinny human and did not have any flesh on its body at all. Its limbs were very long and thin, and it had a large round belly. It had gray skin and an ugly face. Its ears were quite sharp, and its gray eyes were filled with savagery. There was a piece of cloth wrapped around its waist, covering its lower body, and it held a large bone cleaver. One of them looked no different from a human. He had a handsome face and a well-built body. He wore white clothes and had a blood-red sword at his waist. His eyes were blood-red and gave off a dense killing intent. One looked like a devil and had a pair of pure black eyes, a mouth full of fangs, a pair of wide wings, and a tail. It wore black armor and held a large halberd. The other was also humanoid and had a body of powerful muscles. He was tall and sturdy and had grayish-white skin. He had 3 heads. One was a chicken head, one was a duck head, and one was a pig head. There was a piece of beast skin wrapped around his waist, and he had great physical strength. These were the 6 paths demon images, and they each stretched out a hand and expanded out their domains, forming a 6 paths defensive barrier. The 6 paths defensive barrier was gray, and it was made up of 6 complicated and mysterious compasses. The barrier gave off a boundless 6 paths of reincarnation power, and the eerie, ghostly chi swept out like a flood. The temperature in the surroundings plummeted, and countless people's hairs stood on end. Their bodies uncontrollably trembled, and their surroundings became eerie and terrifying. This was the first time that Zhao Fu had unsealed the 6 paths demon images' power, allowing them to once again appear in the human world. Because the 6 paths demon images could easily go out of control, Zhao Fu had not dared to use them. Now, Zhao Fu had nothing to worry about, and he only had one goal, which was to kill everyone. Zhao Fu raised his head to the sky and roared, and 4 dragons' roars sounded out from Zhao Fu's body. A 4-colored aura flame rushed out from Zhao Fu's body, and a terrifying power exploded out. At that moment, Zhao Fu had used his fate dragon. Roar, roar, roar. Countless mournful cries sounded out as the dragon images around Zhao Fu started to crumble under that terrifying power. This caused everyone's expressions to fall as Zhao Fu was about to break free. Boom, boom, boom. The dynasty legatees did not hesitate and unleashed all of their nation armament's power, paying any price and even burning their life force. Aura flames rose up and massive gales spread out. The 9 bronze cauldrons descended first, bringing with them a world-suppressing aura. Then a spear appeared, bringing with it a boundless conquering aura. Then a sun-like crown appeared, and a rose-like flower blossomed, bringing with it a world-shaking power. Boom. Chapter 11:02. All of the Pharaoh Kingdom's people sensed this, because this scepter was the Pharaoh Kingdom's clan armament, the Staff of Celestial Right. Boom! Another massive explosion sounded out as boundless white light covered the sky. Pure white feathers slowly floated down from the sky, and a white book descended from the sky. An unimaginably massive power spread out, and under this power, everything in the heavens and earth seemed to turn into nothingness and chaos, looking incredibly terrifying. This book was Babylon's clan armament, the Book of God. The power of 20 or so nation armaments and 2 clan armaments caused the entire human world to feel an aura of destruction. Under this terrifying aura, countless people's bodies froze in fear, and countless wild beasts ran away in terror. The dynasty legatees acted, and the surrounding 1,000 legatees also acted. They cut their wrists and raised their hands. Blood flowed out of their wrists, but was attracted by a formless energy and flew into the massive dragon-shaped magic formation in the sky. Boom! The magic formation exploded out with a shocking power, causing space to be torn apart. Thousands of dragon-shaped chains shot out from the sky, giving off immense power as they flew toward Zhao Fu. These chains were incredibly terrifying, and they shot into the 6 paths defensive barrier without any resistance, binding up Zhao Fu. The dragon-shaped chains were not corporeal and were condensed from fate. Facing the fate chains, the 6 paths demon images were unable to defend against them. Of course, this also consumed a lot of fate. Zhao Fu's upper body was bound up by the chains, and there were countless dragon images around him. He desperately struggled, but he was unable to break free. Kill. The dynasty legatees did not hesitate at all and raised their nation armaments as they smashed toward Zhao Fu. With so many nation armaments tearing through the sky, the world-shaking power seemed to be able to kill even the heavens. Before that terrifying power even came close, everything started to collapse. Yin and Yang disappeared, and all things withered. Time and space shattered, and the heavens and earth came to an end. Zhao Fu's body was injured by that power, and blood flowed out of his body, and a few wounds appeared on his face. Zhao Fu felt immense pain, and he raised his head to the sky and roared, causing the heavens and earth to tremble. Boom! Boom, boom, boom. Explosions sounded out as powerful auras exploded out. The 12 metal colossi, stone rods giving off ferocious killing intent, and the jade seal giving off emperor's might all appeared. The 20 or so nation armaments and 2 clan armaments that Qin had refined were all released by Zhao Fu. With the buffs from many nation armaments, Zhao Fu's body gave off an intense black light as a pillar of destructive light shot into the sky. The terrifying power seemed to tear open a large hole in the sky, and boundless dark destructive aura flooded out like a fountain. The legatees did not hold back and roared as they unleashed all of their nation armament's power, blasting towards Zhao Fu with heaven-destroying power. The countless nation armaments around Zhao Fu continuously trembled and gave off intense light as terrifying auras spread out. They gave off world-destroying power as they madly smashed against the countless incoming nation armaments. Boom! A shocking explosion sounded out as the sky above the battlefield was shattered, and a terrifying shockwave spread out. 10 or so regions were razed to the ground, and everything within them was turned into nothingness. The entire human world trembled as the sky to the west of the human world was torn apart, and an aura of destruction spread throughout the world. The northern sky was covered by a layer of azure light, making it seem as if everything had been dyed azure. A massive dragon's might, bringing with it a power that could suppress an entire world, appeared, and countless creatures felt a massive pressure weighing down on their bodies. A massive azure dragon appeared in the sky. Its body was covered with azure, jade-like scales, and had many forked horns. Its claws were incredibly powerful, and it looked incredibly mighty. It was the northern guardian beast, the sky desolation azure dragon. The broken sky in the west was covered by a layer of fiery red, and a searing heat spread out from the sky. Countless traces of water vapor instantly evaporated, and a world-destroying power appeared, causing countless people to feel terror. A massive bird covered in flames appeared in the sky. This bird looked like a phoenix, but it was not a phoenix. Its eyes and beak were like red gems and gave off an intense red light. It was the divine sun firebird. The eastern sky was covered by a layer of white light, and the sound of water splashing could be heard as an unimaginably powerful might descended, causing countless people in the eastern side to feel as if they had fallen into darkness. A massive whale appeared in the sky. Its body was snow white, and its eyes were blue, making it look incredibly beautiful. It also had a pair of pure white wings. It was the eastern guardian beast, the emperor's sovereign white whale. Boundless multicolored light descended from the southern sky, seeming to give off a rainbow-colored coat, making the world seem incredibly beautiful. A massive might descended, and even though it was powerful, it did not make people feel fear, and it instead made people feel at ease. A massive deer appeared in the sky. Its fur was rainbow-colored, and its antlers were platinum-colored. It gave off a gentle aura, and it was the southern guardian beast, the 9 celestial enchanting deer. The shocking destructive power spread out, causing the human worlds for guardian beasts to simultaneously appear. From this, it could be seen how terrifying that power was, and it could almost destroy the entire world. This was the human world's final battle. The Western divine sun firebird spoke first, and it had a coarse man's voice. These humans want to destroy the world. Are we not going to interfere? If this continues, the human world's fate and source energy might be heavily damaged. The Sky Desolation Azure Dragon's ancient figure said, "We can't interfere. This is a battle to unify the human world, and the human world will become one. When that time comes, everything that has been lost will slowly be restored." The Emperor's sovereign white whale laughed as it said, "If the human world is unified, our mission will be completed early, and we can leave the human world." The nine celestial enchanting deer's voice was that of a young girl, and it lightly laughed as it said, After this battle, we'll be able to head to the Devil Domain. Great Sheen's legatee is quite terrifying to be able to fight against so many people by himself. If he can unify the human world, that would be the best outcome." At that moment, the Sky Desolation Azure Dragon said, "Let's stabilize the human world first. If these humans really destroy the world, we'll be greatly affected." Chapter 11:03. Bang, bang, in the sky. The nation armaments madly clashed with terrifying power, resulting in explosions. The sky was continuously torn apart, and the shock waves turned into wild gales that destroyed everything in the surroundings. At that moment, Zhao Fu was still bound by the countless dragon-shaped chains, and he loudly roared as he exploded out with immense power. The countless chains and dragon images were gradually pushed aside by Zhao Fu. The expressions of the 1,000 or so legatees fell. Right now, they were only able to gain a slight advantage by binding Zhao Fu and allowing the dynasty legatees to use their nation armaments to attack. If Zhao Fu broke free, the first to die would definitely be those without nation armaments. I, as the legatee of the Southern Kingdom, order all of the Southern Kingdom's fate to gather in the dragon formation. I, as the legatee of the Wei Kingdom, order all of the Wei Kingdom's fate to gather in the dragon formation. I, as the legatee of the Tian Kingdom, order all of the Tian Kingdom's fate to gather in the dragon formation. I, as the legatee of the Rose Kingdom, order all of the Rose Kingdom's fate to gather in the dragon formation. At this moment of life and death, the countless legatees disregarded everything and raised their bleeding hands as they roared. Not only did they send all of their power into the dragon-shaped magic formation, but they also sent all of the kingdom's fate into it. Boom! As countless traces of fate flowed in, the dragon-shaped magic formation instantly became more than 10 times bigger. Its power once again rose to a new peak, and an even greater might exploded out. The chains also gained immense power and bound Zhao Fu even more tightly, seeming to want to tear Zhao Fu into pieces. The various dynasty legatees also used their nation armaments to madly attack. Because Zhao Fu's body was bound, his power was gradually suppressed, making it so that Qin's nation armament could not hold up against Zhao Fu. This caused countless people to look delighted. It was still possible for them to kill Qin's legatee. If they could kill Qin's legatee, this battle would immediately end, and all of them would have hope in the future. The various legatees attacked Zhao Fu even more ferociously, and the morale of the soldiers on the ground rose as they desperately defended against Qin's attacks. Meanwhile, Qin's side's morale started to weaken. Zhao Fu's roar shook the entire world, causing the world to lose its color and the wind and clouds to surge. Boom, boom, boom. Of the 3 massive stars, one gave off boundless blood-red light, one gave off boundless golden light, and one gave off boundless gray light. They turned the world into 3 different colors, and the boundless might seem to be unbearable for the human world. It continuously trembled and tore apart before recovering. Right now, the 4 guardian beasts were doing their best to protect the source of the human world. Otherwise, the damage caused by both sides would take a long time to recover. Boom! The 3 massive stars gave off intense starlight and gave off world-destroying might. A terrifying pillar of starlight landed on Zhao Fu's body, causing Zhao Fu's aura to continuously rise. A terrifying aura of death enveloped everyone. Everyone's bodies stiffened as boundless fear surged in their hearts. They felt as if they were going to die in the next second. Boom, boom, boom. At that moment, they sensed something and felt as if their minds were going to explode. Terrifying auras flowed out of the legatees' bodies and rushed into the sky. Stars giving off different starlight gave off terrifying might as they broke through the restrictions of the sky and descended into the human world. Some of these stars gave off red light, some gave off blue light, some gave off violet light, and some gave off yellow light. Even though they gave off different lights, they all had one thing in common, which was that they were all king stars. Under the pressure of Zhao Fu's 3 powerful emperor stars, these people had actually summoned their king stars. Thousands of massive king's stars hung in the sky, giving off different starlight and different auras. With the dark blue sky as the backdrop, everyone felt incredibly shocked. What happened next was even more shocking. The thousands of king's stars gave off terrifying might as they quickly moved and surrounded the 3 emperor stars. They all exploded out with intense starlight, and powerful king's auras shot into the sky, forming an extraordinary king's aura that covered the heavens and earth. At that moment, countless people wanted to kneel down and submit to this king's aura. The king's aura that caused the heavens and earth to submit did not hide at all and directly pressed down towards the 3 emperor stars, seeming incredibly ferocious and powerful as it challenged the 3 emperor stars. The 4 guardian beasts were all quite shocked as they watched 1,000 king's stars simultaneously descend. This was the first time they had seen such a thing. What shocked them even more was that these 1,000 king stars gave off powerful king's aura as they challenged the emperor's stars. This was something that was almost impossible to see, and they could not help but feel nervous. Right now, they did not have much confidence in Zhao Fu because the aura of 1,000 king stars simultaneously descending was simply too terrifying and could cause even the heavens and earth to submit. Just who will win the final battle of the human world? If Qin won, the human world would be unified and a new age would begin. If the Western faction won, the human world would continue to be like before and everyone would ally together to resist Qin. The human world would welcome a short period of peace because if Qin lost, he would not be able to launch such a large-scale battle in a short period of time. When that time came, who knew when a human world would be unified again? By now, Zhao Fu's body was being held in the air by dragon-shaped chains. The various legatees controlled their nation armaments and madly attacked. Without Zhao Fu's control, Qin's nation armaments were continuously pushed back. The king's stars exploded out with even more intense starlight and gave off a king's aura that seemed to make even the heavens and earth submit. They moved towards the 3 emperor stars and started their formal challenge. They wanted to destroy the 3 emperor stars. Zhao Fu looked incredibly pained. There was the damage from the various legatees, the backlash from unsealing the 6-path demon images, and the unbearable pain from summoning the 3 emperor stars. This immense pain caused Zhao Fu's consciousness to sink, and his body became powerless. The countless legatees felt incredibly delighted and even excited. Now, they really could kill Qin's legatee. If they could kill him, everything would be over. The Western faction's morale once again rose, and Qin's side's morale started to fall. By now, Qin had lost control of his nation armament and was unable to defend against the attacks of the various dynasty legatees. The dynasty legatees raised their nation armaments and gave off terrifying might as they attacked toward Zhao Fu, vowing to blast Zhao Fu into smithereens. At that moment, Bai Qi could not help but feel startled and was about to give the order to save Zhao Fu. Suddenly, Zhao Fu, who had been powerlessly lowering his head, once again raised his head and looked at the various legatees, causing them to feel a bone-chilling coldness. Their bodies froze because Zhao Fu's pupils had completely split open. Boom! Chapter 1104. In the sky, the Chaos Imperial Star gave off a blinding blood-red light that tore through the sky, causing the entire human world to be covered in a blood-red color. The aura of massacre and disaster flooded out. It made people feel as if they had fallen into an abyss and felt terror in their hearts. The celestial emperor's star was like a golden sun, giving off boundless golden light that illuminated the world. Under this light, all creatures instinctively wanted to submit, and the scene was like a sovereign descending upon the world. The nether emperor star gave off bright starlight, causing countless traces of Yin-Chi to rise up from the ground. The world was filled with a cold and eerie aura, and ghostly figures appeared and gathered towards the nether emperor's star. The three stars each gave off world-shaking power, and their light seemed to be able to pierce through the world. The thousands of kings' stars, which gave off terrifying auras, continuously trembled because they felt a sense of fear. Just then, they had exploded out with their king's might and formally challenged the three emperor stars, believing that they had the power to destroy the three emperor stars. However, now that the three emperor stars had released their might, their starlight covered the entire human world. The emperor's might was unstoppable, and under the emperor's might, the 1,000 kings' stars became dim. Boom! A shocking explosion once again sounded out as the three emperor stars started to retaliate against the king stars that had just challenged them. The three emperor stars combined together to give off a world-destroying emperor star power, which turned into a shockwave that swept out incredibly quickly. In just an instant, the 1,000 king stars were blasted back by that massive force. Some of the closer king stars shattered, and some cracks appeared on the king stars in the center. The king stars on the outskirts were also greatly affected. How could these measly king's stars resist the might of an emperor? The king's stars hid in the sky in fear and disappeared. The countless legatees in the surroundings also received a powerful backlash. They felt as if they had been hit by an unimaginable power and coughed up large mouthfuls of blood. Their bodies powerlessly fell from the sky, and it was unknown if they were dead or alive. The four guardian beasts also looked slightly afraid. They had never thought that Zhao Fu would be so powerful to the point that even they had been injured. They did not know that Zhao Fu had once violently suppressed the spirit light world's four guardian beasts. At that moment, the restrictions on Zhao Fu's body automatically dissipated after losing the support of the legatees. In the sky, Zhao Fu looked down at the battlefield and slowly raised the emperor-killing sword. Boom! Zhao Fu's sword descended, and a shocking blood-red light slashed out, seeming to want to split the world apart. The great wall on the ground was directly slashed apart, and a sword gash that was 10,000 meters wide appeared on the ground. The terrifying power caused the Western Alliance army to sink into boundless terror. The three emperor stars gradually disappeared, and Zhao Fu powerlessly fell from the sky. Shinru suddenly appeared and caught Zhao Fu. Bai Qi looked away with a cold expression as he drew the seven murders sword and pointed it at the sky. The other 14 people who had general armaments also raised their general armaments. 7 killing stars. Alcade, Greedy Wolf Star, Lunar Star. Loud shouts sounded out as streams of aura containing terrifying power rushed into the sky, causing the sky to tremble. Following this, stars giving off terrifying auras descended. There were 15 stars in total, and they all gave off different starlight. They were different from the Emperor stars and King stars from before. They all gave off general aura and were general stars. The 15 general stars gave off terrifying might as they covered the entire battlefield, causing the surrounding air to become much heavier. The starlight dyed the world with different colors, and under these general stars, everyone felt a sense of terror. Boom, boom, boom. Bai Qi and the others simultaneously activated their general armament's 6 forms, and auras continuously flowed out from the soldiers. The soldiers' eyes became blood-red, and they felt a boundless power flow out of their bodies. A wave of battle intent flowed into their minds, and they lost control of their bodies. Kill. Countless Qin's soldiers gave off different auras, and they looked like a multicolored ocean as they gave off a destructive aura as they charged towards the Great Wall. Under this terrifying aura, the Western Alliance army instinctively felt terror. They did not know if the legatees were dead or alive, causing their morale to plummet. They were no longer a match for Qin's ferocious aura. Corps soul leaders that were 100 meters tall climbed up the Great Wall and destroyed the dragon-slaying ballistae before randomly smashing down with their weapons, turning soldiers into meat paste. The scene was incredibly bloody and could cause anyone to feel shocked. Without any threat, the wyverns in the sky became even more unrestrained. They spewed out large amounts of flames and icy blasts, burning or freezing soldiers alive. After spewing out ice and fire, some wyverns leapt up and used their massive bodies to send people flying. The wyverns wantonly slaughtered in order to take revenge. The 20,000 generals that had been hiding suddenly appeared and ferociously attacked the Western Alliance Army's city lords, causing them to continuously retreat. Finally, Qin's army on the ground charged up the defensive Great Wall like an ocean. In just a few moments, they had reached the Great Wall and broken through the Western Alliance Army's defenses. This meant that the Western Alliance Army had lost, and Qin had won the final battle of the human world. Seeing that the situation was hopeless, countless soldiers and city lords started to retreat. Some city lords and soldiers completely gave up and knelt on the ground, willing to submit to Qin. The battle that had lasted for half a month finally concluded, and Qin's soldiers and city lords continued to kill their way inland. Now, all that was left was to conquer the Western continent. When that time came, the human world would belong to Qin. Boom! Boom! Two massive explosions sounded out as two rays of light containing terrifying power shot into the sky. Two massive doors appeared. One of the doors had a picture of a divine sunfire bird engraved on it, and it gave off a fiery light. The other door had a picture of an emperor's sovereign white whale engraved on it, and it gave off a white light. Suyin turned to look at the mountains and rivers and sighed as he shook his head. He gave off a trace of bitterness and dejection as he walked into one of the doors. Following this, some people also entered and disappeared. A few days later, Zhao Fu woke up from his coma. This time, Zhao Fu's injuries were not very heavy. By now, Qin had conquered the eastern continent and western continent, and all that was left was to clear out the regions. It could be said that Qin had completed his goal of unifying the world. Following this, Zhao Fu found out about some things, and he could not help but frown. It was about the two doors. Those two doors were called doors to another world, and they could normally be used to summon creatures. The Western continent's people had used them before to summon many Outlander creatures, but these two doors were different. They were created with the divine sunfire bird egg and the emperor's sovereign white whale egg as the cores. Chapter 1105. The price of this method was naturally the loss of two guardian beast eggs. Guardian beast eggs were incredibly precious, and such a loss was quite painful. Zhao Fu did not care about the two eggs, but that some people had used this method to escape from the human world. This included many of Qin's enemies, such as Akhenaten, CG, Suyin, and others. Zhao Fu had never thought that these people would have already prepared a way out. However, this made sense. If Qin won the final battle, the entire human world would belong to Qin. They would have no way out, so they would naturally escape from the human world. Zhao Fu's mood, which had been quite good at unifying the human world, fell. He thought about it and asked, "Do you know where these people escaped to? Could it be in the grassy world?" Li Si replied in detail. Back then, General Bai Qi sensed some abnormalities and immediately sent people to chase after them. However, they also sensed danger and immediately closed the two doors before disappearing. We are not sure where they teleported to. In the grassy world, I sent out countless spies to gather information and found that they did not go to the grassy world. Following this, I ordered many formation masters to investigate the traces of magic formations at the scene and found that the door they used was a random teleportation door. This random teleportation door can teleport across many worlds at random, and it is impossible to track the teleportation location. They were most likely afraid that Qin would find their location. Hearing this, Zhao Fu let out a sigh of relief. If these people had gone to the grassy world and announced what had happened in the human world, Qin would have been at a disadvantage, and Qin would have been in great danger. All of Zhao Fu's previous plans would have failed. Even though they had escaped, they had not caused too much trouble. With Zhao Fu's status as the ruler of the human world, Zhao Fu did not care about them at all. Li Si said, "Your Majesty, only a small number of people escaped. Only a small portion of them escaped, and most of them were stopped by Great Qin. Not only were there the Buddhist sect, Confucians, and Mahists, but there were also half of dynasty legatees and Great Tangsley family." Hearing that there were still many people who had been stopped, a trace of a smile appeared on Zhao Fu's face. These people had dared to oppose Great Qin, and in unifying the battlefield, Great Qin had suffered massive losses. 70% of Great Qin's forces had been injured, 600 million people had died, and 100 wyverns had died. Such massive losses were a heavy blow to Qin. All of this had been caused by these people, and it would be too easy for them to escape. Now that they had been stopped, Zhao Fu would properly punish them. As such, a trace of a smile appeared on Zhao Fu's face. However, after hearing about Great Tangsley family, Zhao Fu's smile faded, and a cold light flashed in his eyes as he asked, "What are the specifics?" Li Si sensed the change in Zhao Fu's expression and replied seriously. The Li family was one of Qin's main targets, so when Great Tang's army retreated, Qin sent people to hunt them down. When he arrived at their legacy city, he found that they had already moved the city and escaped, abandoning countless soldiers and residents. Qin's general quickly chased after them and successfully stopped the Li family. Following this, they desperately resisted but were still captured by Qin's soldiers. However, Great Tang's legatee, Li Baiqing, escaped with his nation armament and Great Tang's royal city. It seems that he entered the door to another world. Hearing that Li Baiqing had escaped with his nation armament and Great Tang's royal city, Zhao Fu felt quite displeased. Seeing this, Li Si immediately replied, "Your Majesty, out of the Li family's many branches, only he escaped. Everyone else was captured by Qin, including his woman, his father, and that Li family's old patriarch. None of them escaped, and they're all locked up in the great prison." Zhao Fu nodded, feeling quite satisfied. Even though he did not want to admit it, his little brother escaping with his nation armament and Great Tang's royal city would definitely be a scourge in the future, and it was best to get rid of scourges. Li Si cupped his hands and said, "Your Majesty, Great Qin has also attacked the Great British Kingdom. Out of all of the legatees, Tina Pendragon most likely suffered the heaviest backlash. She hasn't woken up yet, and her life is in danger. We've already arranged for her to be taken care of in a good room. What will your Majesty do with her? Will you heal her injuries or let her die?" Tina Pendragon. Zhao Fu thought about the things that had happened in the past and felt some admiration for this woman. If it wasn't for the fact that they were destined to stand on opposing sides, perhaps they could have become good friends. In the final battle, not only had she been the leader of the Western side, but she was also the most powerful and had the most fate. Back then, when Zhao Fu's 3 Emperor stars had released their might, they had caused countless cracks to appear on Tina Pendragon's royal star. Comparatively speaking, Babylon had not been so lucky. Back then, his royal star had been shattered, and he had died from the backlash. The Book of God had most likely fallen into Qin's hands. "Do your best to heal her," Zhao Fu said to Li Si. No matter if it was because of their past relationship, internal affairs, or her own value, she was worth saving. Li Si nodded before asking, "What about the other dynasty legatees and the leaders of some other factions?" "We've captured 16 dynasty legatees and 150 or so dynasty legatees, as well as countless sect leaders." Zhao Fu did not reply and instead asked, "Do they choose to submit or resist? Who hates Qin the most, and who has done the most evil things to Qin?" Li Si did not know how to answer because he did not have a complete count. He could only give a rough answer. Now, these people were quite rebellious, and many of them tactfully expressed that they were willing to submit to Qin. Zhao Fu did not show any mercy and said, "Later, make a list based on the situation. There is no need to ask us about the people on the list. They will all be executed." The people on the list were definitely the ones who resisted the most and had done the most evil things to Qin. There was no need to keep them alive, so they were all to be killed. There was no need for Zhao Fu to look through them. "Yes, your majesty." This lowly official understands. Li Si obeyed and then reported other things to Zhao Fu. Most of these things were small and not very important, and there were some things that Zhao Fu had almost forgotten. For example, Heavenstone City's City Lord's son, Shi Wen, had escaped after Zhao Fu had personally killed his father, Shi Jian. This time, he had not been able to escape and had been caught by Qin. He had developed a faction and wanted to take revenge on Qin, which was quite funny. Chapter 1106. After recovering from his injuries, Zhao Fu headed to a prison. Zhao Fu had been waiting there for a long time, and it was time to end everything. Zhao Fu's expression was cold, and he did not bring anyone with him. He ordered the guards to leave the prison, leaving Zhao Fu by himself. Zhao Fu did not hide his appearance and came to a large prison. An elderly man immediately recognized Zhao Fu and looked at Zhao Fu hatefully, wanting to cut Zhao Fu into 1,000 pieces. He was Li Shan, the leader of the Li family. His face was pale, and he looked haggard, as if he had aged 10 or so years. Others noticed Zhao Fu's arrival. Some people did not know Zhao Fu's identity and thought that Zhao Fu was just an official. The Li family's old patriarch coldly said, "You unfilial son of the Li family, you're here for revenge, right? If you want to kill me, do whatever you want. My Qing, heir, will take revenge for me sooner or later and take your head as a sacrifice." Only then did everyone realize that this young man was the world-shaking Imperial Prince Qin. Their gazes were filled with terror and hatred as they stared at Zhao Fu. Li Jia furiously leapt over and cursed, "You bastard, you destroyed the Li family. It's because of you that the Li family is in such a state. I'm going to kill you for daring to do such a thing to the Li family." The prison door had already been opened, and Li Jia leapt in front of Zhao Fu and grabbed Zhao Fu's collar as he cursed at Zhao Fu and punched Zhao Fu's face. Zhao Fu did not retaliate or block, allowing Li Jia, his father, to hit him. His expression was incredibly calm, and a trace of smile appeared on his face. Li Jia ignored everything and continued to punch Zhao Fu. Just as he was about to continue, Zhao Fu slapped him, sending him flying back and crashing to the ground. Half of his face was red and swollen, and a trace of blood flowed out of his mouth. Immediately, Li Jia looked like he was about to explode. He crawled up from the ground and glared at Zhao Fu as if he wanted to kill him. "You bastard, you dare to hit me? I'll definitely slaughter you and feed you to the dogs today. I really regret not killing you and that piece of trash." Bang! Zhao Fu's expression was calm as he waved his hand, and a massive force once again sent Li Jia flying. He crashed to the ground and coughed up another mouthful of blood. Li Jia furiously tried to get up and rush at Zhao Fu, but he was immediately held back by the others. If Li Jia rushed up like this, he would only be asking for trouble. However, even though Li Jia was stopped, he still cursed at Zhao Fu. "You bastard, I'm going to kill you. I want you to die a horrible death. I'm going to turn you into mincemeat." A howl sounded out from Li Jia. Zhao Fu casually waved his hand, and a cold light shot out, cutting off one of Li Jia's ears, causing blood to fly everywhere. Only then did Li Jia's cursing stop. Zhao Fu would not hold back at all. He had allowed Li Jia to punch him a few times because Zhao Fu wanted to wipe out the Li family's final bit of hesitation and ties. The people in the surroundings looked at Zhao Fu hatefully, while Zhao Fu lightly laughed as he asked, "What do you think I should do with all of you? Should I kill all of you bit by bit, or should I extract your souls and refine them? I can satisfy all of you." The Li family's old patriarch said angrily, "If you want to kill us, then kill us. After all, you're my grandson. One of them is your father, one is your grandmother, one is your stepmother, and one is your sister-in-law. If you're really that cruel, aren't you afraid of being scolded by the world?" The elderly woman, who was helping Lija stop the bleeding, also spoke. She was the Li family's old patriarch's wife and Lija's mother. She looked to be in her 40s and had a mature figure. She was incredibly charming, and it could be imagined that she had been a top-tier beauty in the past. Her name was Louis Wessian, and she said with a worried expression, "It's our Li family that has wronged you and your mother. The old patriarch and I will take responsibility for everything. You can kill us to vent your anger, but please spare the others. After all, she's your father. I'm begging you." Seeing his mother beg Zhao Fu, Lija could not help but angrily call out, "Don't beg this bastard. If he wants to kill us, then kill us. Your elder isn't afraid of him. Even if I become a ghost, I won't let him off." "Arg!" Lija once again cried out because traces of Emperor's aura entered Lija's body from Zhao Fu's body. It was as if countless bugs were eating at his body, causing him immense pain. His wife, Zhang Shuyun, knelt in front of Zhao Fu and cried, "Please don't torture Zhe. I'm willing to do anything you want." Seeing that his wife was begging Zhao Fu, Lija felt even more furious. He endured the pain and continued to curse at Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu found that Lija truly cared about the woman in front of him, and he tentatively stroked her beautiful face. Zhang Shuyun was so afraid that she did not dare to dodge, and she allowed Zhao Fu to caress her. This scene caused Li Zhe to be angered to death, and his eyes almost popped out of their sockets as he roared, "I'm going to kill you. I'm going to tear you into 10,000 pieces. I'm going to feed you to dogs." Zhao Fu happily laughed. This was a laugh that came from the bottom of his heart. The anger that he had been suppressing for 20 or so years had finally been released today. He ignored Lija's words and continued to stroke Zhang Shuyun's face as he warmly smiled and said, "You should know what to do now. As long as you properly serve me, not only will the Li family's people not die, but Li Zhe will also not die. I'll also spare your son in the future." Zhang Shuyun started to cry and turned to look at Li Zhe, who was lying on the ground in pain, and she nodded and agreed. Thinking about his beloved woman serving someone else, adding on the immense pain he was already suffering, Li Zhe gave a heart-wrenching howl. The Li family's old master was infuriated, and he glared as he pointed at Zhao Fu with a trembling hand and cursed, "Bastard! To think that you could do such a thing, you..." Before he could finish speaking, Zhao Fu waved his hand and sent him flying. He then stretched out his hand and pulled Louis Wessian into his embrace. Louis Wessian struggled a few times, and Zhao Fu took out a lifespan increasing medicinal pill and stuffed it into her mouth. She became younger at a speed visible to the naked eye, and she looked around 30 years old. She struggled a few times before stopping. After all, she had lived for a long time, and she knew what to do. She was quite happy that she had suddenly become so young. That woman did not like that she had become young and beautiful, and she understood what Zhao Fu wanted to do. As such, she took the initiative to hug Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu did not expect this, and this caused Li Shan to cough up a mouthful of blood in anger, unable to say anything. Zhao Fu loudly laughed before saying, "I'll have a good taste of them." Following this, Zhao Fu hugged the two women and brought the woman called Yang Yinyu with him as they left the prison, leaving behind Li Zhe and Li Shan's furious cries. After leaving the prison, Zhao Fu ordered people to take care of the two of them. Zhao Fu did not want them to die, so he ordered people to take Louis Wessian and the other two women away. Chapter 1107. After returning to the Qin Palace, Zhao Fu seemed to have become a completely different person, and he had a big smile on his face. The human world had now been unified, and there were no more battles or internal conflicts, so he could focus on dealing with other worlds. Zhao Fu had been suppressing himself for a long time, and now that everything had been resolved, he felt incredibly relaxed. He was in a good mood, and he was naturally happy. If there was no outside world and only the human world existed, how great would that be? Zhao Fu would become the ruler of the human world, and everything would come to an end. From then on, Zhao Fu would be able to live a carefree life in the human world. Then let it end like this. This was the best result and the best ending. There was no need to worry about the future. However, things were far from over. The human world was just a small place in the heaven-awakened world, and facing the countless worlds outside, Zhao Fu felt just like when he had obtained Qin's legacy. He felt incredibly powerless and insignificant. Even though Qin could do as he pleased in the human world, after the heaven domain boundary disappeared, Qin still had to behave himself. Otherwise, if a higher being suddenly destroyed Qin, there would be no one to blame. In the following period of time, Zhao Fu once again gathered countless generals and ministers. Now, Qin needed to set a new goal, just like when Zhao Fu had been a small village chief. Only with a plan could everything proceed in an orderly manner. This was how Qin had progressed. In the past, Qin had always advanced according to the bigger picture and unified the human world, and it was the same now. Zhao Fu did not know what level Qin could reach before he died, but his only goal was to make it so that it would never fall. Now, as long as he completely cleared out the human world, Qin would be able to become a dukedom kingdom. In the future, Qin's goal would be to develop on both sides. After all, those who did not leave the novice village would be easier to bully than those who did, so he had to quickly take down the dark demon world and fish scale world. There was also the spirit light world, where Zhao Fu had obtained the primogenitor statue, which could deal with them. Zhao Fu had ordered people to collect the blood of everyone in the human world to quickly refine the primogenitor statue. The meeting lasted for a few days. Zhao Fu and countless ministers and generals discussed Qin's future in detail. Qin's vision could not stay on the human world, but the boundless universe. First of all, intelligence. Without intelligence, one would be like a blind person, unable to see or know anything. Moreover, one would randomly walk around and wouldn't even know that one had gone the wrong way. Intelligence was of vital importance to any force. Qin's spies should not be limited to Qin or the surrounding countries, but should be expanded to at least 100 worlds. Qin should know the surrounding 100 worlds like the palm of his hand. After understanding them, it would be more convenient for Qin to have a better plan in the future. Only then would he be able to rise more strongly. Eternal Night, Flower Moon, and the White Sect. Qin's intelligence organizations had to provide large amounts of support and allow them to develop in the surrounding worlds. It would be best if they could also know some things about the ancient STEM domain. Eternal Night was led by Zhao Sha and the others. Flower Moon was led by Xiao Yuan, and the White Sect was led by Yi Qiuye. She had been the White Lotus sect's holy daughter and was a very bewitching woman. The three organizations all had their own advantages, and they all knelt on the ground and accepted Zhao Fu's orders. They would be given large amounts of resources to develop and collect more detailed intelligence for Qin. Eternal Night's 11 people lowered their heads and accepted the orders. Zhao Fu looked at Eternal Night and felt quite uncomfortable because there were only 11 of them. There had been 12 of them, and he did not know where Tuoba Qing was or if she was safe. With her identity as an origin human, the matter that she caused was simply too great. Even the higher beings would pay close attention to her, and this was not something that Qin could handle. Back then, Zhao Fu had not been able to hide the origin mark that Tuoba Qing had given him, causing the higher being's clone to descend. He had almost been killed by that fellow, and that higher being had most likely been angered to death and had been searching for Qin this entire time. Right now, Zhao Fu was quite worried that the higher being would come to find him. After all, once he found Qin, Qin's fate would be sealed. With how big the heaven-awakened world was, Zhao Fu did not know if he would be able to see Tuoba Qing again. This was all because Qin was too weak. Not only was he afraid of the higher being finding him, but he also did not have the ability to keep Tuoba Qing here. This suddenly gave Zhao Fu the motivation to become stronger. Xiao Yuan lightly smiled as she nodded. Her figure was becoming more and more mature, and because she was quite good at business, she had become good friends with Ba Qing. She had been greatly valued by Zhao Fu. Yi Qiuye also coquettishly nodded. She had been wanting to do something with Zhao Fu this entire time, and she constantly revealed her seductive looks. Anyone with discerning eyes would be able to tell that she wanted Zhao Fu to press her against the ground and do it with her. However, Zhao Fu had many things to do and did not take it to heart, so he did not touch her. This made Yi Qiuye feel quite annoyed. This was especially so after seeing Xiao Yuan's increasingly mature and seductive aura. This was something that Zhao Fu had done to her body, and with this relationship, it was impossible for Yi Qiuye to obtain a higher status than Xiao Yuan. This made Yi Qiuye want to do something with Zhao Fu even more. Because of how close their relationship was, the higher her status was, the more important she would be. Zhao Fu did not mind Yi Qiuye's thoughts and continued to give out orders, carrying out the plan that he had just come up with. Finally, it was time for the rewards. After a few days of meeting, Zhao Fu's body had recovered, and it was time to put a perfect end to the unification of the battlefield. Li Si had already prepared a detailed list of rewards based on how much contribution they had made, and Li Si started to read them out according to Zhao Fu's orders. Bai Qi, Wang Jian, Wei Liao. One by one, the ministers came up to receive their rewards. Everyone in the hall smiled, and a joyous atmosphere spread out. Now that the battle had ended, everyone who had contributed would be rewarded. Moreover, because this was the human world's final battle, Zhao Fu's rewards were even more bountiful than before. Following this, there was a grand celebration banquet. Not only was the Qin Imperial Palace filled with joy, but Zhao Fu also announced to the world that the entire human world was in a festive mood. Every household was decorated with lanterns and banquets, making it seem as if it was the new year. The unification of the human world was of great significance to anyone. Chapter 1108. The banquet lasted for 3 days before Qin walked out from the festive atmosphere. The various departments returned to normal, and Qin's army continued to clear out regions while the residents went about their own business. Zhao Fu roughly calculated the rewards from this final battle. They had obtained a shocking 60,000 cities and at least 28 billion people. After eating such a massive piece of meat, Qin's stomach bulged, and his body seemed to have doubled in size. If he could digest all of this, Qin's power would reach a terrifying level. However, by then, Qin would already be a level 1 dukedom kingdom, on the same level as the nearby Devilhorn Empire. If news of Qin's strength was leaked, it would definitely cause a huge commotion. Since Qin Zhao had the strength of a level 1 dukedom kingdom so quickly, he would be even more dangerous than the Devilhorn Empire. Of course, if news of this was leaked, they would be incredibly shocked and would immediately be wary of Qin, and they might even ally together to destroy him. Zhao Fu did not want this news to be leaked. It was best to silently accumulate wealth. When that time came, Qin would have terrifying power and would be able to sweep through all of them. Now that his body had recovered, the next step was to refine the nation armaments. As for why he had to wait until his body had recovered to refine the nation armaments, he knew. This time, he had refined 16 nation armaments and a clan armament. Thinking about it, he felt that it was a pity that he had let that boy Akhenaten escape. After all, he had the final clan armament. If he could refine all 4 of the human world's clan armaments, the benefits to Qin would be unimaginable. Qin's countless people's bloodlines would be more compatible with the human world, and their bloodline power would become stronger. However, now that he was missing one, the effects would naturally not be as great as having 4 clan armaments. After all, only 4 clan armaments could form a complete body. Zhao Fu did not know which world Akhenaten had gone to, and if he wanted to obtain the final clan armament in the future, who knew how long he would have to wait. Zhao Fu had brought all of the women from the 16 dynasties, and there were women from all races. There was also a dynasty that Zhao Fu did not like, which was the Kievan Rus dynasty. It was one of the Russian dynasty legatees, and its legatee was Oleg. Oleg was the Russian who had invaded China and was one of the 8 legatees. He had opposed Zhao Fu many times, causing Zhao Fu to dislike him. The Kievan Rus dynasty belonged to Oleg. Now that he had died, he seemed to have suffered a heavy backlash, but he had no intention of surrendering. After all, he knew what he had done, and Great Qin would not give him a good life. As such, Great Qin's generals could only kill him. During this period of war, because it was an internal war, the human world's consciousness did not give anyone the world source energy. Whether it was the world protector or the legatee, they could all die, and the world's consciousness would not protect them. After all, the human world's consciousness wanted to unify the world. Oleg had 3 mothers. His father married 3 of them. He also had 3 younger brothers and 1 older sister. Oleg himself had more than a dozen women. They were all incredibly beautiful and had good figures. What attracted Zhao Fu the most was naturally Oleg's 3 mothers and big sisters, as they were rare beauties in Russia. The 3 mothers all looked to be in their 30s. One had long brown hair and delicate facial features, looking like a virtuous woman. One had a seductive figure and had a pair of impressive breasts, and one had a fiery figure and was filled with wildness. The big sister had long red hair and was extremely beautiful. She was quite tall and gave off the aura of a flame fairy, and she was passionate, beautiful, and bold. Now that they had all come to the refining pavilion, the women and residents of the 16 dynasties were easy to deal with, but the final clan armament was quite troublesome. First, there was the problem of population. Babylon only had a few cities, and they had been given to him by someone else. He only had a few 100,000 people, and he did not have any other relatives. He only had a 5-year-old little sister who had been captured by Qin. His little sister was quite cute and had an introverted personality. Of course, even if it was to refine the clan armament, Zhao Fu would not do anything to her. Zhao Fu had principles and was not an animal. Zhao Fu had ordered this little girl to be taken care of. If she was tactful, Zhao Fu would let her live happily, and if not, he would kill her. After all, Zhao Fu would not allow anyone who hated Qin to live. Babylon did not have any relatives, so Zhao Fu could only look for people related to him. In the end, he found some people. One of them was the leader of a faction, and the people spawned in his cities could be used to refine the clan armament. This was the number of people that could be refined. At the same time, he brought back 10 or so women. They were all quite pretty, but it was not easy to find women related to Babylon's bloodline, so Zhao Fu was not picky. After entering the refining pavilion and seeing so many well-groomed women, a trace of a smile appeared on Zhao Fu's face. A high-pitched voice sounded out as Oleg's big sister weakly lay on Zhao Fu's body. Beside her, her 3 mothers' faces were red as they breathed weakly. There were also white bodies lying all around. At that moment, the wild-looking woman, who was one of the 3 mothers, panted as she said, "How are you so powerful? I like it. Let me rest for a bit and we'll do it again. This time I won't lose. How about it?" Zhao Fu lightly laughed as he stroked Oleg's big sister's snow-white back as he replied, "It's impossible for you to win." Who begged for mercy just then? Also, we still have to refine the nation armament. The wild-looking woman coldly harumphed and unwillingly gathered some strength as she hugged Zhao Fu and pressed her bright red lips against Zhao Fu's. After a series of intense sounds, the woman weakly lay on the ground, and Zhao Fu put on his clothes and prepared to refine the nation armament. Oleg's big sister recovered some of her strength, and she looked up at Zhao Fu with a cold expression as she said, "You won't harm anyone from the Kievan Rus dynasty, right? We'll use our bodies to pay for what Oleg did to Qin. Don't harm anyone else." Zhao Fu turned to look at her and frowned. He did not like her tone. Seeing Zhao Fu's expression, the other 2 mothers felt quite terrified. They knew who this person was, and they immediately said, "Your Majesty, I'm sorry, but she hasn't gotten used to her current identity. I'm sorry, she hasn't gotten used to her current identity. She definitely won't dare to do it again." After saying this, they lightly pushed Oleg's big sister, telling her to show weakness and not make Zhao Fu angry. Otherwise, no one would have a good time. Chapter 1109. Next to him was a woman who had once belonged to Oleg. She had a fiery figure and was quite beautiful, but she was a bit inferior to Oleg's mothers and big sisters. She stood up and flirtatiously smiled as she helped Zhao Fu put on his clothes and said, "Your Majesty, don't mind her. You don't have to care about her. She's just being stubborn. Didn't she moan happily under you just now? Also, Your Majesty, I'm called Mace. I'm willing to serve Your Majesty every day and enjoy the pleasure Your Majesty gives you." These words caused Oleg's big sister's face to become red, and she lowered her head and did not say anything else. Oleg's three mothers' expressions became quite unsightly. From how much power Zhao Fu had put into their bodies, it seemed that Zhao Fu liked them a lot. This meant that they had a massive opportunity because this man in front of them was the ruler of the world. As long as they could curry favor with him, there would be no problem. In fact, they also enjoyed the feeling of doing it. This feeling had already made them sink into it, and they were unable to leave. Because of their original goal and the needs of their bodies, they had to curry favor with Zhao Fu. However, looking at how Zhao Fu was acting, they knew that their fates would be quite pitiful in the future. Perhaps he would just throw them to the soldiers and kill them. Zhao Fu did not mind too much. He put on his clothes and picked up the nation armament floating in the air and headed to the heaven and earth refining formation. Terrifying shockwaves rippled out as nation armaments were refined one by one until only the clan armament was left, which was Babylon's Book of God. Boom! A massive pillar of light containing terrifying power shot into the sky, causing the sky to tremble. A terrifying aura spread out, causing the heavens and earth to dim and clouds to swirl as countless traces of fate madly gathered. A massive vortex formed in the sky, giving off a massive aura that shook the surroundings. Countless traces of fate quickly gathered, and the might became stronger and stronger. Following this, the vortex suddenly condensed into a massive black orb. This black orb was very round and seemed to have become corporeal. It felt abnormally tough and did not seem to be dangerous at all, but gave off a heaven-toppling aura of ferocity. The corporeal might was enough to kill people. The Book of God was also making its final struggle. It gave off a dazzling white light, and a huge figure appeared in the sky. This figure was 1,000 meters tall and looked like a middle-aged man. He had a benevolent expression and wore a snow-white robe. There was a massive orb of light behind his head that gave off boundless white light like a sun. The heavens and earth seemed to tremble in excitement as if they had seen their master. Sensing this power, the countless people who worshipped the Holy Church became fervent and excitedly knelt on the ground. There were many of them. The world was filled with kindness, light, justice, and purity. Everything was so harmonious and beautiful, as if it was heaven. All of this was because of a single figure. This figure was the ruler of the Roman Curia. He was also the person that the Roman Curia worshipped. He was also the god that created everything in the world. As the clan armament of the ancient Babylon Empire, why was it called the Book of God? Moreover, this Book of God seemed to be more suitable for the Vatican because its name and attributes were very compatible with the Vatican. There were many secrets to this. The Book of God was a special clan armament. Not only did it have the attributes of a clan armament, but it also had the power of a faith armament. Faith armaments were important items that only godly spirits could use. They were incredibly powerful and could gather faith energy and control believers. They were the most powerful killing weapons in the hands of godly spirits. In the Bible, ancient Babylon was called the Garden of Eden. The Garden of Eden is a paradise on earth. According to the Bible, the book of Genesis in the Old Testament, God Yahweh created the ancestor of mankind, Adam, in his own image. Then he created the woman Eve from one of Adam's ribs and placed the first man and woman in the Garden of Eden. There was no need to talk about what happened afterwards. However, the connection between ancient Babylon and God was quite large, but because of how long ago it was impossible to verify. As one of the four ancient civilizations, ancient Babylon had a very long history and developed into one of the few cities in the world. It had the earliest epics, myths, medicine books, and farmers' almanacs. It was one of the cradles of Western civilization. There were gardens in the sky, but they were all in ruins. Now, the Book of God belonged to Qin. Zhao Fu disregarded the Book of God's struggles and personally gathered the heaven and earth fate. An explosion sounded out as an even greater amount of fate gathered in the sky. The black orb gave off an intense black light as it absorbed even more fate, and the might it gave off seemed to be able to cause the world to collapse. Within the black orb, a formless energy forcefully restrained the struggling Book of God. Following this, Zhao Fu cut his wrist and released his sovereign bloodline to forcefully refine it. Zhao Fu's blood and Qin's fate gradually seeped into the Book of God, and the image of the Book of God in the sky gradually collapsed. Gotcha! A few hours later, a clear cracking sound rang out as a small crack appeared on the black orb, and rays of black light shot out from the crack. At the same time, a terrifying aura of darkness, destruction, and chaos spread out from the black orb. This aura caused countless people to feel quite startled, and they felt as if they had fallen into icy water. They felt a coldness that could freeze their souls. Ka-cha, ka-cha, ka-cha. A chain of cracking sounds sounded out as the black orb became covered with cracks. Everyone started to feel nervous, not knowing what would happen to the Book of God. Bang! A shocking explosion sounded out as the black orb exploded, causing countless black shards to shoot everywhere, and a book giving off black light appeared. Countless rays of black light descended from the sky, and black feathers floated down like snowflakes. The heavens and earth were filled with an icy coldness, and the scene was incredibly beautiful. The image of the Book of God once again appeared, but this time was different. This image of the Book of God gave off boundless black light, and it wore a black robe. It looked quite ferocious, and it looked like a darkened god. However, Great Qin's residents felt their bodies warm up, and the pain and discomfort in their bodies disappeared. Their bloodlines became more lively and powerful, and their strength rose as well. They received many benefits from this. Even though the Book of God had been darkened by Qin, it was still Qin's clan armament, and it was very useful to Qin. Because everyone was now Qin's subjects, no one felt any discomfort, and it could be said that everyone had obtained benefits. Zhao Fu had never thought that the Book of God would be darkened. Before, Zhao Fu did not want to do this, as the golden dragon could be used by the godly spirits that Qin had nurtured. However, Qin did not nurture a darkness-type godly spirit, and only had water-type and light-type godly spirits. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.